Chapter 1323. Well, it's not bad to ascend to the spiritual world. The life in the immortal world is hundreds of times better than in the mortal world. The dragon spirit didn't care about the little trick in Yang Chen's words and commented directly, and then suddenly asked, "It seems that you have guessed the identity of this old man. Please enlighten me, senior." Yang Chen passed a kind message to the other party and said with a smile, "Where did you get this gourd?" The other party asked again impatiently. After such a long time, the dragon spirit seemed to be getting weaker and weaker. Even the thought that was passed over had an uncontrollable panting. This younger generation junior said that this younger generation junior and the dragon clan have a lot of connections. Yang Chun did not explain in detail, but first stopped the dragon from asking, "Don't worry, senior, you are in a bad state now. Let this younger generation junior refine some medicinal pills to help you recover." "Help me, guard. I'm going to refine a medicinal pill." Just now, the communication with the dragon spirit has been through the beast controlling secret art and spiritual awareness communication. Others can neither see nor hear it. Yang Chun decided to refine the pill and immediately ordered the women again. The women were a little stunned and didn't know why Yang Chun wanted to refine the medicinal pill at this time. But they all understood that since Yang Chun had made a decision, it would not be easily changed. As a woman of Yang Chun, at this time, there was no other choice but to follow Yang Chen's instructions. Everyone was already on the Lang Ya crystal ship. For the time being, as long as the women paid attention to their vigilance, there would be no blind guy who would dare to provoke the 7 Deshang stage masters and 4 peak Yuanying stage masters. It was very safe. Yang Chen's actions made the women feel relieved. Alchemy was much better than risking their lives on the edge of the weak water, right? As for the treasures in the Lang Ya crystal ship, from the beginning, Yang Chen said that he wanted the pure, true fire. Other things would belong to whoever found them. After the influence of Yang Chen's wealth, the women did not put the treasures that might appear in the Lang Ya crystal ship in their eyes. There was no need to compete with others at this time. The people on the Lang Ya crystal ship looked at the Yang family in amazement. They put on such a posture, they didn't know what they were thinking. They finally got on the Lang Ya crystal ship, but they didn't look for treasures around. Were they waiting for the treasures to jump into their arms? Unexpectedly, the guys who had come to the Lang Ya well had released all the customers they brought in at this moment. In this regard, they seemed to be very tactful. None of the people who paid the spirit stones were in life-threatening danger. All of them safely boarded the Lang Ya crystal ship. However, like Yang Chen's family, they all found a corner to meditate, and there was no hurry to find the treasures. No one understood what they were doing. Those lucky fellows who boarded the ship began to search around. It was unknown how many people regretted it in their hearts. If they had known that there would be these guys who could bring people on board, and that they could board the ship with only 25 kilograms of upper-level spirit stones, why did they have to spend so much money and risk their lives to board the ship? Yang Chun ignored these guys who were greedy for treasures, put out the profound spirit furnace, and concentrated on refining medicinal pills. This time, he was concocting the same kind of pill that the heaven-seizing pill had used to restore the pill spirit. It was to restore the dragon spirit. The current Yang Chun was no longer the same as before. The medicinal ingredients he used were many times better than what Elder Wu Xiong had prepared in the past. The only thing he lacked was the powder of the Dragon Ball. The Dragon Bead was the inner core of the Dragon Clan. In the past, there was a very large one in the grass treasure house of the Dragon Clan. It had been thrown to Xiao Tian to swallow and refine. He didn't know if there were any left at the moment. With a little thought, Yang Chun immediately contacted Xiao Tian. Xiao Tian has not yet been able to completely refine the dragon bead, but for Yang Chen's method of asking for a little powder, Xiao Tian seemed very stingy. After a lot of persuasion, after promising a purified evil bead, he got a little. Since he wanted to be a good person, he would be a good person to the end. When refining the medicinal pills, Yang Chun did not hesitate to add the method of the merit chapter and spent a lot of his own merit to restore the dragon spirit to its best state. At this moment, the dragon spirit was already in Yang Chen's gourd. Yang Chun was not afraid that the dragon spirit would be a threat to Yang Chun after it became strong. To put it bluntly, not to mention that it was just a dragon spirit in the mortal world, even if it was the dragon spirit of the East Sea Dragon King of the Heavenly Court, Yang Chun was also sure that he would be subdued. With Yang Chun's current level, such a medicinal pill did not take too long. Of course, it was only relatively speaking. Yang Chun was immersed in the alchemy and did not feel the passage of time, but when he completely completed the pill, it was already a month later. There seemed to be only Yang Chun's family left on the Langya crystal ship, and no one else could be seen. Those people had already left one after another when Yang Chun was refining the pills. Even those who re-entered the Langya had disappeared. Husband, the Langya crystal ship has reached the destination. They have all gone down to look for treasures. Tao Junkie saw that Yang Chun was a little confused and immediately explained, "The Langya crystal ship is a magic treasure for ferrying people. This is the real place where the treasures are hidden." When Yang Chun heard this, he suddenly came to a realization. This was reasonable. Otherwise, a Langya crystal ship that looked like it was only a few miles long. How could there be a place to hide so many people? At first glance, it was obvious that the Langya crystal ship was not a cave abode, but a tool to bring people to the destination. "There's no hurry. Let's take it slowly," Yang Chun said as he put the refined medicinal pill into the gourd. "What medicinal pill is this?" "It's actually a grade 2. During this period of time, the dragon spirit had not made a move and was obediently resting. It sounded like it was in better spirits, but it still looked weak. It did not know how many years it had not communicated with others, but when it saw the medicinal pill, it immediately knew that Yang Chun had completed the task, so it immediately spoke quickly. "This smell." Very soon, the dragon spirit discovered the extraordinariness of the medicinal pill. The medicinal pill, mixed with the powder of the Dragon Ball, gave it a strange sense of intimacy. Because it was not its own Dragon Ball, there was a little rejection, which was a very strange feeling. The best material to restore the spirit body was the powder of the spirit body's inner core, but the dragon spirit obviously did not have it. Fortunately, Yang Chun had already considered this problem and specially used a large amount of merit to quell the rejection that was not from its own Dragon Ball. As long as it approached the medicinal pill, it could feel its spirit body rapidly becoming stronger. At this time, the dragon spirit could not be bothered to say anything to Yang Chun, and directly used its spirit body to roll up the medicinal pill and began to absorb the medicinal qi in the medicinal pill from all directions. The damage that the spirit body had suffered previously also began to recover bit by bit. "Let's go and see what good things there are here." While the dragon spirit was slowly recovering, Yang Chun waved to his wives and concubines and said, "What good things are there in the legendary treasures?" Chapter 1324. The golden glittering scene that he was looking forward to did not appear. On the contrary, when Yang Chun walked out, it was dark and he could not see any scene at all. "The place where the Langya crystal ship took us should be underground. There is no light." Gao Yu's voice came from his side. They had already taken turns to look when they were guarding Yang Chun, and they were very familiar with it. Except for the inside of the Langya crystal ship, it is dark outside. For Yang Chun and others, the darkness didn't affect them too much. Except for the fact that they couldn't see it with their eyes, all other senses were there. As long as they launched their spiritual awareness, they could clearly know the surrounding situation around them, but there were no colors. As soon as he entered the darkness, Yang Chun subconsciously wanted to make some light. This was not intentional. It was purely a subconscious habit. Before he could make a move, he was stopped by Gao Yu next to him. "Don't make a light." Gao Yu's voice sounded next to him. "Those people specialize in attacking places with light, and many people have died." It seemed that a lot of things happened here during the process of Yang Chun's alchemy. Robbing and killing people for treasures was an extremely common scene here. This time, Yang Chun was a little surprised. The people who went out never said this. Of course, they didn't say that someone would take them to the Langya crystal ship to earn spirit stones. It could be seen that some people deliberately concealed it and didn't intend to let people know. In this way, Everyone could only rely on their spiritual awareness instead of their eyes to explore the environment here. For Yangchun, this was a good thing. When everyone could only use their spiritual awareness, he had already reached the 10th stage of the human immortal realm, which absolutely occupied the greatest advantage. Coupled with the sea jasper cup, Yangchun could even kill anyone silently. This area was very large, and the area that could be explored by his spiritual awareness now was more than a few hundred miles. However, in this area, except for Yangchen's family, there was no trace of other people. It was estimated that they had gone to a farther place. "Husband, which direction are we going?" Sure, Wu Shuang's voice came, and she seemed to be a little afraid. After all, she was still a woman. For this kind of deep darkness, she still had an instinctive fear, even if she was already a master of the Deshang stage. "There's no rush. Take your time." Seeing this situation, Yangchun didn't know what to do. It was unrealistic to wait for his divine sense to explore the surroundings. After thinking about it, he ordered, "Ah Ling, just walk around and explore the way, then you lead the way." The mountain river geographical map could simulate the terrain of hundreds of miles, and naturally, it could let Gong Sunling know which direction to break through. But now it was more important to let the mountain river geographical map form a simulated terrain. Casually put the women in the shuttle and randomly found a direction. Yangchun controlled the shuttle to fly at high speed. Along the way, he didn't care about anything else. All he cared about was allowing Gong Sunling to completely simulate the terrain. At the same time, he was waiting for the dragon spirit to recover. As Yangchun expected, the dragon spirit did not take too long to recover. In just a short 2 days, it had basically recovered to its original state. According to Yangchun's estimation, this guy's spiritual awareness was at least in the 8th grade of the human immortal realm. This was still the performance in the state of pure spirit body. If the physical body was still there, he didn't know how strong it would be. "It's so comfortable." The dragon spirit made a very comfortable and satisfied groan. There was no longer that feeling of weakness. Inside, this feeling of complete relaxation is really memorable. After sighing, the dragon spirit suddenly passed a sentence to Yangchun. "For the sake of you refining medicinal pills for me, I won't take over your body. You have to find me a physical body and let me take over." In the tone of the dragon spirit, there was no politeness at all. It was full of alms and arrogance that could not be resisted by Yangchun. "Are you sure you're talking to me?" Yangchun's tone was not so calm for a while, and it was tit for tat. This guy doesn't seem to have figured out the situation, and he still thinks that he has Yangchun. Although with the cultivation of his spiritual awareness, according to common sense, it should not be a problem to deal with a small Yuanying stage like Yangchun. But there are no absolutes in the world, and Yangchun in front of him was definitely an exception among exceptions. The reason why Yangchun did not directly fall out with him was that this guy still knew how to be grateful. At least he said that he would not take over Yangchun's body for the sake of Yangchun's help in refining medicinal pills for him. From his point of view, it was still worth Yangchun's time to rescue him. Of course, who else would it be if not you? The dragon spirit did not have the slightest consciousness of asking someone to do something for him, and said naturally, "Okay." Yangchun agreed, took out the dragon bone flying sword, and threw it into the gourd. "How about this? I am a real dragon. Let me possess the dragon bone. What a joke." As soon as the dragon spirit touched the dragon bone flying sword, he immediately understood what it was, and suddenly became angry. "Besides, there is your spiritual awareness imprint on it. It is clearly your magic weapon. Do you want me to be the weapon spirit?" The words of the dragon spirit made Yangchun's heart move, and he suddenly smiled. It seems to be good to be the weapon spirit. As he said, he had already begun to think about which weapon spirit to let this guy be. Boom! The dragon spirit did not answer Yangchun's words, but began to erupt. The spiritual awareness of the 8th grade human immortal was directly raised to the limit, and it hit Yangchun's spiritual awareness fiercely. This kid doesn't know what's good for him. Does he really think he's a soft persimmon, so easy to bully? If I don't teach him a lesson, he won't know how many eyes I have. To the surprise of the dragon spirit, The full blow of his spiritual awareness did not cause any pain to Yang Chun, and it even seemed that Yang Chun did not feel anything. After receiving such a hit, Yang Chun still looked as if nothing had happened. There was no change. How is this possible? The dragon spirit thought that his spirit body had been restored, and Yang Chun should be vulnerable, but the facts in front of him made him unable to believe it at all. Nothing is impossible, Senior. Yang Chen's words came through the connection of the two people's spiritual awareness, and then there was a hint of ridicule in his voice. Even Senior Jiao doesn't want to possess the body. Could it be that Senior still wants to find a real dragon to possess? That's natural. As soon as these words were passed, the dragon spirit realized that something was wrong. Yang Chen had already said that all the real dragons had ascended, and there were no real dragons left in the world, and his own wish to possess seemed to be in vain. In that case, Senior, take a look. Is this appropriate? Yang Chun suddenly smiled and put Xiao Tian into the gourd. At the same time, he did not forget to tell Xiao Tian to give a little lesson to the dragon spirit who still didn't understand the situation, so that he knew who was in charge here. Chapter 1325. What is this? The dragon spirit was still a little surprised at first, as if it had never seen Xiao Tian before, but the dragon spirit on Xiao Tian's body made the dragon spirit happy immediately, and it rushed straight up without thinking about it. Roar! Of course, Xiao Tian also noticed the action of the dragon spirit, and he roared angrily at the dragon spirit. The jackal's head suddenly showed a kind of joy when it saw its prey. Then it opened its big mouth and sucked fiercely. As a Yazi, it usually fed on the spirit. What was the spirit? To put it bluntly, it was a spirit body, but it belonged to the spirit body of the magic weapon. Although the dragon spirit was the true spirit of the true dragon, in essence, it was still not out of this scope. Xiao Tian was very clear about how much benefit the pure dragon spirit would have after being absorbed by him. As soon as Xiao Tian sucked, the dragon spirit flew into Xiao Tian's mouth involuntarily. This time, the dragon spirit was scared out of its wits, and at the same time, it also knew what Xiao Tian was. Even if Xiao Tian's cultivation base was still a lot worse than the dragon spirit, this kind of natural restrainability could not allow him to challenge it. Don't! The dragon spirit let out a scream of horror, frantically trying to get out of the control of Xiao Tian. Unfortunately, he was just a spirit body. In front of Xiao Tian, it was impossible to get out of the control range of Xiao Tian. Don't you want the body of the true dragon to possess? Yang Chun seemed to be watching a play, and his voice came into the ears of the dragon spirit. Xiao Tian is barely a dragon's son. You can make do with it. Don't. The dragon spirit was no longer as haughty and arrogant as before. Apart from saying no in horror, it was unable to say anything else. At the same time as he conveyed this meaning, the dragon spirit was getting closer and closer to Xiao Tian's big mouth. The dragon spirit that spewed out of Xiao Tian's mouth was no longer as kind as it was in the eyes of the dragon spirit. At this moment, it was as terrible as the soul of the dragon spirit. No matter how the dragon spirit screamed in fear, the movement of the body flying toward Xiao Tian's mouth did not stop. Until the dragon spirit was about to enter Xiao Tian's mouth, Xiao Tian could lick off a layer of the dragon spirit's skin as long as he stuck out his tongue and licked it gently. All the movement stopped. Close to the lips of Yazi, the dragon spirit felt unprecedented fear. The target that seemed very suitable for possession now looked so ferocious and frightening. You want to possess each other? Are you ashamed? Yang Chen's teasing words once again came into the ears of the dragon spirit. Killing each other is not exclusive to you humans. Although the dragon spirit was afraid, it also understood that Yang Chen did not have the idea of killing him at the moment, and its tone also calmed down. With a wave of his hand, Xiao Tian was sent back to the dragon palace. Yang Chen once again faced the dragon spirit alone. Tell me, who are you? How are you in the weak water? And what is the matter with the spirit devouring dragon fire? At this time, Yang Chen even omitted the title of senior and junior and directly used you and me. His spiritual awareness could not shake Yang Chen's spiritual awareness, and he himself was firmly restrained by Shao Tian. The dragon spirit also understood his current situation. The dragon spirit did not even have the ability to resist, so it could only cooperate obediently. It was like a fish on a chopping block. He didn't want to face Shao Tian's big mouth again and feel the breath exhaled by Shao Tian's mouth. I was attacked and lost my physical body. As a last resort, I entered the weak water and used the power of the weak water to nourish my spiritual awareness. The dragon spirit recognized the situation and did not hide anything. He quickly replied, "The spirit-devouring dragon fire is my life source fire seed, but I lost my physical body and the fire seed began to bite back, causing me to become weaker and weaker. If I hadn't met you, maybe in another 1,000 years, I would have died completely." The dragon spirit's words sounded simple, but there was a lot of information in it. Attacked by someone who attacked him, daring to attack the true dragon clan. How bold were they? In addition, even in such a weak situation, this guy could still resist the spirit-devouring dragon fire for thousands of years, which was enough to show that this guy was excellent at controlling fire. What the hell is going on with this Lang Yuwell? With this guy, who could barely be regarded as a local snake, Yang Chen certainly had to ask clearly. The sect that attacked me was destroyed by me in anger, but I also lost my physical body. The mountain guarding array of the sect is still working, and it is opened every few hundred years. The dragon spirit said it very lightly, but there was inevitably a kind of pride in its tone. It was indeed worthy of him to be proud that a dragon alone destroyed a sect. The spirit-devouring dragon fire is your life source fire seed. You can't resist it. Yangshan did not give a chance to be proud and asked another question. I lost my physical body, and my spirit body is naturally restrained by the spirit-devouring dragon fire. At this point, the dragon spirit really couldn't be proud, and could only say if it weren't for thousands of guys rushing in every few hundred years, falling into the weak water and being swallowed by the spirit-devouring dragon fire. Increasing the fire, I would have already extinguished this fire. The dragon spirit was a little unconvinced, but it probably couldn't bear to really extinguish its own life source fire seed. On one hand, it was its own life source fire seed. On the other hand, it was its own life source fire seed that restrained it. This kind of contradictory feeling was definitely quite uncomfortable. People always thought that the weak water hurt people. Even Yang Chun thought so. Only now did they know that it was the spirit-devouring dragon fire that really killed people. This kind of fire seed that burned silently, invisible and colorless. Even in the weak water, no one could see it, and no one even dared to casually come down to investigate. If it weren't for the freak Yang Chun, who wanted to collect some weak water before boarding the Langya crystal ship, they would not have discovered the secret at all. The dragon spirit must have also realized that this was a rare opportunity. With the spirit-devouring dragon fire entangled with Yang Chun, it could naturally quietly escape. The only thing it didn't expect was that Yang Chun could actually restrain the spirit-devouring dragon fire, which also made the dragon spirit plan to cooperate with Yang Chun. Before, it was polite to Yang Chun on the one hand, it was grateful on the other hand, it felt that Yang Chun could be used. Good plan. Yang Chun smiled and said, "What are your plans now? However, there is no need to think about possession. Shao Tian, you don't even need to think about it. There are no true dragons in this mortal world. Wait until I ascend. What else can I do?" The dragon spirit sighed and said very helplessly, "You arrange it." The current situation was simply Yang Chun had the final say. The dragon spirit saw it very clearly, so it was very straightforward, without the slightest bit of unwillingness. Two choices, Yang Chun said with a smile. One is to be the sword spirit of my wife's dragon horn flying sword, and the other is to be the spirit of another fire attribute magic weapon. Of course, when I meet a suitable body, I will let you out for possession. You choose for yourself. Chapter 1326. Dragon Horn, Flying Sword. The dragon spirit directly exclaimed, "You still have a dragon horn flying sword? How many dragon clan magic weapons do you have? Are you the enemy of the true dragon clan?" It's a long story. Anyway, you know that I have a lot of relationship with the true dragon clan." As he said, Yang Chun took the dragon spirit out of the gourd and threw it into the dragon palace. The abundant spiritual power and familiar aura of the dragon palace made the dragon spirit stunned immediately, and then screamed, "This is the dragon palace." "You actually took the dragon palace?" "Unfortunately, this is the sea dragon palace. It has the water attribute. Otherwise, the most suitable is this dragon palace." After discovering the dragon palace, the dragon spirit sighed, and there was a little more regret. In the surprise, the dragon spirit was about to go to the dragon palace to look around. Suddenly, it saw Xiao Tian comfortably soaking in the four seas mysterious coral liquid outside the dragon palace. The fiery enthusiasm was extinguished, and there was no more passion. "I have a lot of Dragon Clan magic weapons, but since you have a life source fire seed, I think it is a fire dragon. There are not many suitable for you." Yang Chan didn't care about the change in the attitude of the dragon spirit before and after, and said directly, "The flying sword refined from the fire dragon horn is suitable for you." "What about the fire attribute magic weapon you said?" After listening to Yang Chen's words, the dragon spirit was silent for a while and suddenly asked again, obviously interested in the fire attribute magic weapon that Yang Chen said. Yang Chen didn't know why the dragon spirit was not interested in the fire dragon horn flying sword, but he would not force the dragon spirit to be the sword spirit of the dragon horn flying sword. The melon was not sweet. If it was not the willingness of the dragon spirit, the effect could only be counterproductive. The profound spirit furnace appeared silently in front of the dragon spirit of the dragon palace, and it attracted the attention of the dragon spirit as soon as it appeared. As the dragon spirit of the fire dragon, he immediately found that this alchemy furnace was extraordinary. When he got close and sensed it carefully, he was shocked. This is the aura of a 6th grade fire seed, 5th grade fire seed, 4th grade. After waiting for a careful taste, the tone of the dragon spirit was obviously excited. "In your pill furnace, there are so many fire seeds. There are a lot of fire seeds. The only problem is that this is not a magic treasure of the Dragon Clan. It does not have the aura of the Dragon Clan," Yang Chun replied proudly. The profound spirit furnace was the proud work of Yang Chun in this life. From the beginning of a low-grade alchemy furnace to the strongest alchemy furnace in the mortal world, Yang Chen's efforts were not a little bit, and he was naturally proud of it. Now Yang Chen's profound spirit furnace has almost included all the fire seeds below the 6th grade. There are also 2 kinds of 6th grade fire seeds, plus the spirit-devouring dragon fire, a 7th grade fire seed, has surpassed all the alchemy furnaces in the mortal world, and there is no stronger alchemy furnace than the profound spirit furnace. "I choose this." The dragon spirit made a choice almost without hesitation, even without waiting for him to see the dragon horn flying sword. As a fire dragon, in the face of so many fire seeds, including its own life source fire seed, it would never choose the flying sword that was definitely not made from its own dragon horn. The ugly words are said in the front. "You can absorb the medicine chi to grow when I'm alchemy, but you also have to do your best to help me alchemy. Otherwise, I don't mind Xiao Tian eating one more senior spiritual awareness." Yang Chun had to say in the front, "Lest this guy be dishonest, you also said that killing each other is not exclusive to humans." This was a real threat. If there was a tool spirit alchemy, it would not be easy to go to the next level. It would be better not to have it. Yang Chun did not have to rely on this dragon spirit, but he subconsciously felt that this guy could get more benefits here. "If you encounter a suitable body after you ascend, you must allow me to seize it and reincarnate." The dragon spirit did not hesitate to put forward its own conditions. "Deal." Yang Chun nodded directly without thinking about it. There was no sloppiness at all. The 2 sides hit it off, and the dragon spirit did not drag and directly went into the profound spirit furnace. Immediately, Yang Chun began the sacrificial refining, letting the dragon spirit and the profound spirit furnace merge. This was a necessary process to increase the tool spirit. The spiritual awareness of the dragon spirit and Yang Chun was too strong. This process did not take too much time, and was completed quickly. After it was completed, Yangchen didn't think about it and directly used the universe treasure-raising secret art to sacrificial refine at once. Comfortable. Good guy. When it was completed, the dragon spirit made two sounds of admiration. His voice passed directly to Yangchen's mind through the profound spirit furnace. One was to praise the feeling that the universe treasure-raising secret art gave him, and the other was to the profound spirit furnace itself. If I can have a little dragon essence, plus some of my physical body, this pill furnace will be able to cross the tribulation immediately. Being in the profound spirit furnace and becoming a tool spirit, the profound spirit furnace excitedly controlled each kind of flame and then sighed, "It's a pity. I have some dragon essence." When Yangchen was in the dragon palace in the Sea of No Return, he absorbed a lot of dragon essence, and now all of it turned into a white dragon in his sea of consciousness. When he collided with the dragon spirit, he knew that it was a dragon scale, so he didn't use it. Now that the dragon spirit said it, Yangchen immediately used the white dragon chi in his sea of consciousness and explored it into the profound spirit furnace. Feeling this pure dragon essence, the dragon spirit was excited again and almost shouted at Yangchen, "Quick, quick! I dropped a few dragon scales when I was fighting. I am here, find them back. Find them back." Dragon scales? Yangchen was stunned and then overjoyed. The dragon spirit's own dragon scales must be able to make him more compatible with the profound spirit furnace. In the past, the profound spirit furnace had no tool spirit, so there was no way to cross the tribulation. Now, there was such an opportunity. How could Yangchen miss it? Yangchen didn't know about the magic weapons tribulation, but in his previous life, Yangchen only heard about it and never had the opportunity to own such a magic weapon. The life source magic weapon of the average person was just to accompany the master to cross the tribulation. There were very few magic weapons that could cross the tribulation by themselves. But no matter which one he took out, it would be a great thing. The profound spirit furnace. This was the second magic weapon with a tool spirit owned by Yangchen. The first was, of course, the pure bottle medicine garden. The previous pure bottle medicine garden did not have the ability to cross the tribulation. He didn't know that now Abai had absorbed the blood phantom vine and the demonized vine, and Aju had integrated the immortal peach. In any case, this was a great thing. The higher the level of the profound spirit furnace, the greater the benefits for Yangchen. There was no doubt about this. In this case, what he was looking for now, in addition to the pure true fire, there was another addition, which was the dragon scales of the dragon spirit itself. "Where's your dragon scales?" Yangchen immediately asked. Langya well has been opened so many times, who knows if the dragon scales have been taken away by others? "It's still here." The dragon scales replied very firmly. "I couldn't feel it before, but now it has fully recovered. It's still here. My feeling will not be wrong." Chapter 13:27. Although the dragon spirit could be sure that his dragon scale was here, the space was too big, tens of thousands of miles, and even he could not determine where it was. If he wanted to find it, Yangchen had to work hard. After all, the dragon spirit was just a tool spirit. After merging with the profound spirit furnace, it was impossible for the spiritual awareness to pass through the profound spirit furnace. It was certain that the dragon scale was still in this space because of the mysterious connection between the main body and the spiritual awareness. Otherwise, it was impossible to know. The shuttle has been wandering for a few days. When Yangchen and the dragon spirit worked together to refine the profound spirit furnace, it was always Gong Sunling who was controlling the shuttle. In these few days, it was enough for Gong Sunling to turn all the places within tens of thousands of miles. At least the mountain river geographical map already had a complete simulation of the terrain. The mountain river geographical map had a small defect. That is, if a formation was arranged in a certain place, then the mountain river geographical map could not explore the terrain inside the formation and could only show the outline of the edge. Unless she entered the formation, it was impossible to explore the situation inside the formation. Therefore, although Gong Sunling ran to a lot of places, The places where the sect was entrenched basically did not have a detailed simulation of the terrain. Only Chunyang Palace, which was undefended inside and outside, had a complete terrain. Even all the terrains could be simulated through the mountain river geographical map. This was the same situation here. In this unknown underground space, there were many places that could not be explored by the mountain river geographical map. However, this also indirectly showed that those places were worth exploring. In addition to looking for the pure true fire, we also need to find one more thing. After settling the dragon spirit, Yang Chun finally didn't have to take care of him and concentrated on communicating with his wives and concubines. For the first time, he still added another target to the search. All the women were very curious. What kind of thing were they looking for? It turned out to be said after they came in. When Yang Chun explained the cause and effect, all the women were stunned. Who could have thought that among the murderous Ruashui, there was a dragon spirit hidden, and there was even the existence of the spirit-devouring dragon fire, a 7th grade fire seed. Just that short experience could be written into a wonderful novel. This was not counting the fact that Yang Chun had subdued the dragon spirit and turned it into the artifact spirit of his alchemy furnace. As long as he collected the dragon scales, he would be able to make the alchemy furnace transcend its tribulation. In this regard, none of the women were as knowledgeable as Yang Chun. Even Tao, junkie of the Taishaman, was the same. He had heard of Dharma treasures undergoing tribulation, but he had never heard of the conditions for Dharma treasures to undergo tribulation, let alone seen one. If they could really succeed, it would be enough to increase their understanding of cultivation to the next level. In fact, very few magic weapons in the mortal world can do this. Just like Yang Chun refined so many medicinal pills, only the heaven-seizing pill has the experience of crossing the tribulation. Without an artifact spirit, and without refining the magic treasure to a certain level, it was simply impossible to have a chance. The matter of the dragon spirit was just a small interlude. The real purpose of coming here was to find the pure, true fire. At most, he had one more goal, which was to find the dragon scales. The other things did not change much. Of course, there was another purpose for Yang Chun to bring his family here, which was to quietly cultivate here, ignore the discord between the sect, and quietly wait for the arrival of the Taishaman's misfortune. Take whatever you want. If others want to fight for it, then fight for it. Everything here is ownerless. Those who are fated will have it. There is no need to be afraid of anything. His main purpose was to find the pure, true fire, but if he met someone else who liked it, he did not have to give in. This was the principle set by Yang Chun for the women. Then, the family began to explore the array one by one. Most of the people who came in had the same idea, especially the few guys who boarded the ship with their people. They were even more familiar with the path. The good stuff here wasn't something that could be taken away at once. Instead, no one knew when one or a few of them would suddenly appear. This was also the reason why there were still people scrambling for the Langya, well, even though it had been opened countless times over the years. With Gong Sunling leading the way, they began to search the array with a relatively medium strength. The weakest array would not have any good things in it that would tempt the women. There were people studying every array around it. Everyone had the same thought. As long as they could break open an array, they would be able to get at least one good thing. This was the consensus. Before seeing real gold and silver, everyone was still able to maintain a certain degree of restraint. Who knew if there was anything good inside? The first person to enter might not necessarily be able to find it. Didn't they see that any random formation was so big, with a radius of at least a few kilometers? The treasures still had to wait for the fated one. For so many years, no one had discovered that there was pure, true fire here. Yang Chen's plan to find it by relying on the aura of the fire seed was ruined. This was not something that could be found easily, so Yang Chun could only search one by one. Arrays were Gong Sunling's strong point, so the task of breaking the array was left to Gong Sunling. Sometimes, Yang Chun only gave Gong Sunling suggestions for her to refer to, but he never took the initiative to break the array. Although the Murong sisters used arrays in battle, they were more inclined towards the 5 elements array, so they did not dabble much. Occasionally, They could only give suggestions, but not take the lead. The other women also knew that they were not very good at arrays, so they waited quietly and enjoyed the process of searching. Yangshan had already said that entering the Languel was also a good place to hone everyone's temperament and cultivation. Everyone was an expert, so they naturally understood this principle and would not waste a single moment. In front of the first array, Gong Sunling did not spend too much time. In less than 10 days, she successfully broke the array. The moment the array was broken, a group of people who had been waiting at the side with covetous eyes rushed in. They did not care who broke the array. In their hearts, it did not matter who broke the array. What mattered was whether they could be the first to rush in and find what was inside. Yang Chen's family was not that anxious. Whether it was the dragon scale or the pure true fire, they were not things that could be obtained by entering first. They watched as the group of people rushed into the array one after another. After waiting for a while, they slowly walked in. As soon as they entered the array, Yang Chun heard the sounds of fighting before he could see anyone. These people were really a group of cheap people. They probably did not know what good things were inside, but they were already so eager to fight. It was unknown which person's hand was so cheap, but when he saw a group of people suddenly enter, he immediately waved his sword at them. This time, it was like poking a hornet's nest. The women had long been dissatisfied with these people, but they did not pay attention to them for the time being. Now, they actually dared to bully them. If this could be tolerated, what could not? Chapter 1328. Gao Yu Gong Sunling and the other 4 wives did not make a move. It was Tao Junki who made a move. Since discovering that Gao Yu and the others had experienced the experience of the demon continent and were very powerful, they felt that they were faintly at a disadvantage. They were obviously masters of the Deshang stage, but they were suppressed by the 4 wives of the Yuanying stage, which made them very uncomfortable. Therefore, with such a fighting opportunity, they had already said that they would leave it to them. Gao Yu Gong Sunling and the other 4 women only needed to take care of their husband with peace of mind. The fighting in the demon continent, coupled with the experience of the mortal world in the following 100 years, Gao Yu Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan, and Sun Qingxue were very open to some things. They were not afraid of anyone. This kind of small scene, there was no need for so many people to make a move. It was not necessary to lift up those guys who didn't know what was good for them. 7 girls made a move. Even without releasing the iron-winged eagle, the people inside could not stand it anymore. This was the location of a medium difficulty formation. The real masters could be concentrated on the side of the high-level formation. Few of the people left here could compete with 7 girls. After dealing with more than a dozen guys in one shot, no one dared to provoke 7 girls easily. With a hula sound, they all ran away. The enemy fled, and 7 girls had no intention of chasing. They came in to find things, not to kill people. In such a short time, Gong Sunling had already simulated the terrain in the area protected by the formation, and several doubtful points were also directly marked. Yang Chen's spiritual awareness swept those places in an instant, and after the exploration, he shook his head directly. It was just a few magic weapons. For him, except for exchanging some poor spirit stones, there was no other value. Without looking at those things, Yang Chun turned and left. As soon as he left, the women naturally followed. After the whole family left, a few brave fellows who were still unwilling to give up and wandered around the area quickly ran back. After a while, 4 or 5 of them left in high spirits. After that, this place was visited by a few groups of people, and no one else came to take a look. After a few months of searching through dozens of arrays, Yang Chun and the rest were still unable to find anything related to the pure true fire and the dragon scale. Every time they saw some dispensable things, there were only a few things that the women could take a fancy to, and they put them away, and the rest were left untouched in place. Although he knew that searching for pure true fire and dragon scales in this vast area was like searching for a needle in a haystack, aimlessly searching for them one by one was indeed very frustrating. Let's see where those fellows who re-entered Languel are. Sighing, Yang Chun finally gave up on this kind of clueless search. Perhaps finding someone familiar with this place to lead the way was the right way. Of course, when it comes to familiarity with this place, except for those who entered Languel for the second time, who else could it be? The women have actually been paying attention to the whereabouts of those fellows. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling had even secretly left a spiritual awareness imprint on those fellows. Don't look at those masters of the Deshang stage, with their current second-grade human immortal spiritual awareness cultivation base. It was easy to keep an eye on those fellows without being noticed. Yang Chun made a decision, then the next thing everyone had to do was to find those fellows. Several people were very far apart, and Yang Chun didn't want to listen to only one side of the story. So he decided to find everyone and then inquire about it. With Gong Sunling and the shuttle, it was not difficult to find each of them. This fellow Taoist, I am Yang Chun. I would like to ask you about something. Ask for directions. Please enlighten me. Every time he found one, Yang Chun said the same words, just a thank you gift, a 6 desires pill. It's not enough to show my respect. As soon as they met, Yang Chen's rich and imposing spirit was fully realized. A 6 desires pill was offered as a thank you gift, and his tone and attitude were all taken out to ask for advice. His attitude was full of sincerity. No matter who it was, there was no reason to refuse. They could take a person to board the Langia crystal ship for 50 gene of upper-grade spirit stones. Of course, they would not push the 6 desires pill, the best quality pill that had been hyped outside. To put it bluntly, after entering Languel, it was unknown whether they could find something better than the 6 desires pill. This was also Yang Chun, who could be so generous. If it was someone else, if they dared to say that they would give a 6 desires pill to others for asking for directions, they would be regarded as a liar and then beaten until even their own mother couldn't recognize them. Grandmaster Yang, please instruct me. I will tell you everything I know. After getting the 6 desires pill and confirming that they were not dreaming, all of them had the same attitude. As for Yang Chun gathering everyone together to ask questions, no one had any objections. Everyone understood that this was because Yang Chun was afraid that one of them would lie to him. So everyone gathered together to confront him. When everyone was gathered, Yang Chun let his 7 concubines guard the periphery and set up a few soundproof arrays before he began to ask questions. When I entered the Languel, I just wanted to find one thing. Several fellow Taoists are familiar with this place. I don't know if you have seen the pure, true fire. Yang Chun did not hide it, and directly told these guides his purpose. Of course, the dragon scale was definitely concealed and only said the pure, true fire. Yang Chun liked to collect fire seeds for alchemy, which was also famous outside. Just like Yang Chun liked to collect miscellaneous books, no one would doubt the things that were famous outside. Moreover, the pure true fire was a 7th-grade fire seed. Not everyone could get their hands on it. Even a pure Deshang stage fire cultivator would not necessarily dare to touch it. If they knew the whereabouts of such a thing, what was the harm in telling Yang Chun and getting a lot of gifts? A total of 7 people, when they heard that Yang Chun was looking for the pure true fire, all frowned. In the dark underground, Yang Chun couldn't see their expressions, but he could detect the hesitation on their faces at the moment through his spiritual awareness. I don't want to hide it from Grandmaster Yang. Although I have entered Languel once, I have never heard of the pure true fire in Languel. Someone immediately said what he knew. Several others nodded when they heard the words, as if they had never heard of it. Grandmaster, is there a mistake in the information? After a clever question, he immediately realized that something was wrong and hurriedly said, in my experience, if it is not that there is no pure true fire here, then there is only one possibility. What possibility? When Yang Chun heard it, he found that this guy seemed to have something in his words. Maybe he really knew something, so he asked hurriedly. Chapter 1329. Perhaps the fire seed is in those few places that have never been opened before. The person who answered did not keep them in suspense and directly stated his guess. When he said this, the others immediately reacted and nodded. Not every place in the Langia well had been searched. There were a few places that the explorers had not been able to enter. Since the outsiders had not heard of it, maybe it was in one of those places. When he heard this, Yang Chun immediately became spirited. If there was such a place that no one had entered, then it was very likely that there was pure and true fire that no one had heard of. Before Yang Chun could ask, Sun Qingxue had already asked anxiously on behalf of Yang Chen. The others also listened attentively and waited for these people to answer. Grandmaster Yang, you don't know. It was still the expert who first voiced out his guess, who said, in this Langya well, there are 3 great danger zones. Since it was called a danger zone, then there was no need to ask. There must be great danger, otherwise it would not be called a danger zone. All the girls pricked up their ears and listened carefully for fear of missing a single word. Every time people who entered Langya well and survived after more than 10 years, basically all the formations that could be cracked had been found, they would all gather in the 3 great danger zones. One person was mainly describing, the others were responsible for supplementing, and the scene of the 3 great danger zones began to be told to Yang Chen's family. The reason why it was called a danger zone was that many people had died in these 3 places. It was fine if people died in there, but the problem was that tens of thousands of people had died outside the 3 great danger zones, and no one had been able to enter. No one knew what was in the danger zone. They only knew that it was definitely something good. However, the 3 formations outside the danger zone were not something that anyone could crack. Ever since the legend of Langya well, the danger zones were still danger zones, no matter how many waves of people came in. The 3 great danger zones were recognized, and basically, people who could survive in Langya well would eventually gather near these 3 danger zones, wanting to try their luck. Of course, there were a lot of people who did not believe in the heresy, and the end result was their own death, and then became a failure example to others. Everyone wanted to know what was inside Terminus. Everyone wanted to take it for themselves, but no one succeeded. A smart person would just watch and not make a move, but a fool would be consigned to eternal damnation. It was that simple outside of the danger zone. In fact, everyone understood that this danger zone only had 3 powerful defensive arrays, and so far, no one had managed to break them. The danger zones were actually not a secret. As long as everyone finished searching the outer areas, their attention would be focused on the 3 great danger zones. It would only take a dozen years or so. With this information, each of them would earn a 6 desires pill. It was definitely worth it. All 7 of them said the same thing, so there shouldn't be any fake news. Yang Chun politely sent the 7 of them off. Then, he discussed with his wives and concubines whether they should go and take a look. Over there, we can only watch. We can't do anything. Gao Yu hurriedly made 3 rules first. Since it was called a dangerous place, it must not be so simple. Once she acted easily, there might be big trouble. Gao Yu knew the character of her husband and disciple. When they reached the place, he might take risks. So, she informed him in advance to avoid any accidents. Of course, Yang Chen agreed. He was not a reckless person and would not put himself in danger. But he was a little curious. What kind of array could block the footsteps of so many treasure hunters? To put it bluntly, these treasure hunters were sometimes the real experts in certain areas. Their attainments were not something that the experts of the big sect could compare to. Even they were stumped, so the difficulty could be imagined. The first place they rushed to should be a cave. The reason why it should be was because everyone actually did not know what was inside. The thing that blocked everyone's way was a stone door at the foot of the mountain. The entire mountain was under a restriction, so one could only enter and exit through this stone door. This was one of the 3 great danger zones, the Longhuan Cave. It was also the least dangerous of the 3 great danger zones. But even so, there were still many corpses around the Longhuan Cave. Some had already decomposed into powder. With a light touch, it would turn into a pile. There were a few fresh corpses beside the stone door of the cave. These were guys who did not know the power of the Longhuan Cave and rashly went up to open the door. There seemed to be an expression of fear on the face of each corpse. Obviously, they felt great terror before they died. According to the guesses of the 7 guides and the legends of the predecessors, this stone door could not be opened at all. When cultivators touched it and used their spiritual power, the spiritual power of their whole body would be absorbed by the stone door. If they did not use their spiritual power, it would be fine. But if cultivators did not use their spiritual power, how could they open such a big stone door? Try using a puppet. Yang Chun originally wanted to try it himself, but he was stopped by Gao Yu. Then, she came up with a compromise. Gao Yu, Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan, and Sun Qingxue all had a puppet made from the corpse of a praying mantis. It was the safest way to test it. Sure enough, as the rumors said, as soon as Shi Shanshan's puppet used spiritual power, it was as if the whole body was sucked by the stone door. If Yang Chun did not see the situation was bad and directly destroyed the puppet, maybe Shi Shanshan would also be implicated. And Gong Sunling's puppet did not use spiritual power. After touching it for a long time, nothing happened. It seems to be a powerful spiritual absorption array. Yang Chun also had a plan in his heart. After pondering for a while, he suddenly smiled. There is a way. What way? The eyes of the women all lit up. Although they could not see clearly in the dark, everyone could feel the excitement of their companions. The danger zone that had troubled countless people for generations, in the hands of their husband, there was a way to solve it. Of course, they were proud and happy. There are two ways, Yang Chun replied with a smile. Since it is a spiritual absorption array, as long as it is an array, there will be a limit. With a lot of spiritual power for the array to absorb, there will always be a time when it can't absorb it. However, this method consumes too much. If it is measured in spirit stones, it will be a massive number. It is a bit not worth the loss. This truth was understood by all the women, but no one would really use this method to break the array. As Yang Chun said, the consumption was too great. Don't look at so many masters of the Deshang stage have died here. That could not be measured by a few pounds of spirit stones. At least 10,000 pounds of top-quality spirit stones had to be used to speak. Is there another way? Sun Qingxue immediately asked about another way. In fact, it's simple to say, but many people are stuck in a dead end and can't think of it. Yang Chun said with a smile, don't use spiritual power, use tools, use brute force to open this stone door. Chapter 1330. People who cultivate sometimes do not think about some things. When they are superstitious about spiritual power all their lives, they will subconsciously think that without spiritual power, they can't do anything. Yang Chun is different. Gao Yu Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan Sun Qingxue is also different. They have all experienced the process of their cultivation being sealed and living like ordinary people for 100 years. In this regard, they have a more understanding than other cultivators. Those ordinary people who have no spiritual power, what will they do when they encounter a stone, or would that they can't move? In fact, there are still many ways. The simplest is to use tools like levers, completely relying on physical strength to support the weight that they can't bear. This stone door is the same. They can't use spiritual power. In the eyes of ordinary people, it is to find various ways to achieve the goal. But in the eyes of cultivators, it becomes another way of thinking. First of all, everyone's first thought was to break the formation first. As long as the formation was broken, there would be no such problem. Of course, this idea is also normal. The other party has arranged the formation, and they can crack it themselves. Come and go, it's upright. The second thought is that if you can't break the formation, what method to use to attack the formation? Or try your luck with various magic weapons. The lying and decaying corpses at the door are the victims of this idea. No cultivator has ever thought of using ordinary people's methods to solve the problem. The masters of the Yuanying and Deshang stage are all hundreds of years old. In the years of cultivation, they have forgotten that they used to be ordinary people, and they can still use ordinary people's methods. When Yang Chun said this, the women suddenly had a feeling of enlightenment. If they want to solve this problem, there are two ways to solve it casually. The first method is a bit costly, but it can be said that it can be solved. The second method of ordinary people made the women a little ashamed. None of them had thought of it. It was like there was no concept in their minds at all. Of course, it's not so complicated for your husband. After Yang Chun waited for everyone to think about it, he added with a smile, if this stone door is not as heavy as the mountain behind it, it is just a piece of cake. Except for Gong Sunling, no one else seemed to understand what Yang Chun meant. Gao Yu vaguely guessed something, but she was not sure if Yang Chun meant this. As he spoke, Yang Chun's hands had already grabbed the two huge handles of the stone door. He didn't know what material the handle was made of, but it looked very sturdy, as if it was made for people to hold it and push the door open. The women were very clear in their hearts that there would be no problem if they didn't use their spiritual power, but they were still a little worried when they saw this scene. They were afraid of disturbing Yang Chun. No one dared to speak loudly and just looked at Yang Chun nervously. Yang Chun casually exerted force and pushed inwards, but the two stone doors did not budge at all. This made Yang Chun a little surprised. He didn't seem to have exerted much force, but he had already cultivated the yellow turban strongman body refining technique to the realm of overturning the sea strength. He had at least tens of thousands of genes of power. He didn't even push the stone door. This stone door was still a bit interesting. After a careful observation, the stone door has not been opened for at least 10,000 years. There was nothing on the door, but Yang Chun still carefully discovered that on the edge of the stone door, there were some subtle traces that almost no one would notice. These traces were actually vertical. What did vertical traces mean? Yang Chun thought a little in his heart and immediately smiled on his face. This was clearly the scratch left by the stone door moving up and down. The designer of this place was really a sinister guy. He set up two seemingly ordinary stone doors. Everyone thought that it was open from the inside to the outside. No one would ever think that the stone door was open from the top to the bottom. He grabbed the two handles with both hands and lifted them up. In the rumbling sound, the two stone doors began to slowly leave the ground and move up. Because it had not been open for a long time, the friction when the stone door was lifted up was very big and it seemed very rough. But under the terrifying power of Yang Chun, the stone door still rose up unswervingly, revealing the passage below. The 7 concubines were shocked to find out that their husband had such terrifying power. Gao Yu finally confirmed her guess. Yang Chun really lifted it with his own strength. When they were in retreat together, Gao Yu had seen Yang Chun waving a huge stone pillar of hundreds of thousands of genes to play tricks. At this moment, she was not so surprised. Gong Sunling had seen the scene of Yang Chun pulling up the island and smashing at Ho Yun, so she was not surprised. The other women were all surprised and speechless. What kind of monster was their husband? Not to mention his level of alchemy. How could even his physical body be so terrifying? No wonder all the women under the bed were sometimes not the opponents of Yang Chun, but it turned out that his pure physical body was so shocking. Fortunately, everyone's state of mind was good. Although they were surprised, it was only for a while. The business was more important. Her husband had already lifted the entire stone door. If it did not go in and take a look, wouldn't it be a waste of her husband's hard work? Tao Junkie's cultivation was the highest, so she took the lead and was about to drill under Yang Chen's arm and rush in. Yang Chen reminded her in time, "Be careful." Tao Junkie understood and summoned the iron-winged eagle. She took the flying sword and lowered her head to go in. Yang Chen only lifted the stone door to his chest, and Tao Junkie had to bend down to go in. Next was Gong Sunling. She had the mountain river geographical map to protect her body, and she could cover for Tao Junkie when necessary. The rest bypassed Yang Chun one by one and entered the long tunnel under the stone door. Gao Yu was the last in line. After the other women went in, she stared at a few directions in the distance, exchanged a look with Yang Chun, and walked in calmly. Now Yang Chun had lifted the stone door above his head, and he could walk in easily. In several directions that Gao Yu looked at, there were people staring at this side in shock. At least 3 of them were the guides who entered Languel for the second time and asked Yang Chun for directions. At this moment, they couldn't believe what they saw with their eyes. One of the 3 dangerous places in Languel was so easily solved by Yang Chun. Why did it feel like watching a show? The women had already walked in a long way. Yang Chun held the bottom of the stone door with his hand, maintained the lifting posture, and moved into the stone door step by step. However, in the eyes of a few people who were staring at this side, the stone door maintained the height of being lifted and never fell. This situation made a few people overjoyed. Could it be that after the stone door was opened, it would always be open? Chapter 1331. When Yang Chun and the women walked into the tunnel, they found that the tunnel was quite speechless. The seemingly very ordinary stone door was more than 100 feet thick, which also meant that the top of the tunnel was more than 100 feet long, all of which were the two so-called stone doors. No wonder it couldn't be pushed inside. The stone door in this direction was simply connected with the mountain. It would be a ghost to be able to push it. In order to walk in himself, Yang Chun had to keep holding it, step by step, and never let the stone door fall. This scene naturally caused a lot of speculation from the people outside. Seeing that the stone door did not fall for at least a dozen breaths, the people outside finally couldn't help but rush towards the stone door from several directions. The fastest one, when he reached the stone door, did not hesitate to enter the stone door. Gao Yu's last glance had obviously found everyone, because they were afraid of disturbing Yang Chen's family inside. No one dared to use their spiritual awareness to explore. The guy who rushed in was very happy. Even if Yang Chen's family ate the meat, he could drink some soup. You know, these 3 great danger zones have never been opened. How many good things are there in it? Before the second expert could rush to the side of the door, the raised stone door suddenly came crashing down. Don't look at the difficulty of lifting it, but when it fell, the huge weight ignored all obstacles, and the pressure of Mount Tai was like the top of the mountain. The master who rushed into the stone door was horrified. Rushing forward was obviously too late, and he was unwilling to step back. In such a hesitation, the stone door had already pressed down on the top of his head. As a last resort, the master could only hold up his hands and learn from Yang Chen's appearance, trying to resist the falling trend of the stone door. Unfortunately, it was easy to see others sitting up, but it was not so simple when it came to lifting himself. The huge weight almost bent the master's spine. In a flash, he already understood that relying on his own physical strength, it was impossible to carry this stone door. But as soon as he used his spiritual power, he suddenly found that the place where his hands and the stone door were in contact, there was a great suction force, and his spiritual power was washed away. This stone door couldn't be used with spiritual power. The expert suddenly remembered this taboo, but it was already too late. The falling momentum of the stone door didn't even slow down for a moment before crashing down. 2 lines of blood were squeezed out from both ends of the stone door. It was that pitiful fellow who was directly crushed into a meat patty by the stone door. Fresh blood splattered all over the body of the expert who rushed over from behind, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, his speed was a little slower. Otherwise, wouldn't he have ended up as a meat patty? Of course, Yang Chun had also sensed that this fellow had followed him in, but he was not so kind as to carry the stone door for an outsider. Once he was inside, he let go without thinking. These guys couldn't think of a way themselves, but they were good at taking advantage of others. He would let them know that it wasn't so easy to take advantage of others. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, but it had nothing to do with Yang Chun. Not even a speck of blood was on his body. He only wanted to know if there was anything he was looking for in one of the 3 great danger zones. It seemed that the array outside and the stone door was the last barrier. There wasn't the slightest bit of other aura inside. Tao Junkie, who rushed in first, had already checked once. There was no danger. Even the lights were lit, illuminating the inside of the place. The space inside was not big. It was only half the size of the mountain belly. The whole space was a circular area, supported by a few pillars. With just one look, Yang Chun felt a little regret. In the middle of the circular space was a hall. Surrounding it was a circle of tables. On the tables, there were many memorial tablets. There were also some portraits on the wall. One by one, they almost covered the entire wall. There were some praying mats on the ground in the middle. Whether it was the praying mats or the tables, they had gone through simple refinement. Until now, they still hadn't decayed. This posture was clearly the appearance of a sect's ancestral hall. No wonder there was such a strange array protecting the outside. Which sect's ancestral hall would be heavily guarded and could not be easily opened. Opening one of the great danger zones was a good thing. But for Yang Chun and the rest, it didn't have much meaning. No one would keep any magic treasures in the ancestral hall. This trip was a waste of effort. The girls probably also knew this result. Everyone just looked at it. No one did anything. Now, they were waiting for Yang Chun to decide what to do next. In any case, he is also a senior. Since he is here, let's burn some incense. Yang Chun thought for a while and said to the girls, "This was the old place of a certain sect. Coming here to take things and arriving at the ancestral hall, it was proper to burn incense for the ancestors." No one objected. Yang Chun was the first. The girls followed behind Yang Chun. Gao Yu, Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan, and Sun Qingxue were in the second row. Tao Junqi, Murong sisters, and Shi Wushuang were in the third row. Starting from the position directly opposite the door, they started to burn incense one by one. There were ready-made incense in the Chinquin bag. In a short while, there were 3 lit incense sticks in front of each memorial tablet in the entire ancestral hall. Smoke rose in spirals, and the ancestral hall began to be filled with a smell that made people feel refreshed. What is that? At first, the smoke was just drifting randomly. But when there were 3 incense sticks in front of all the memorial tablets, the drifting smoke began to slowly form a pattern at the top of the ancestral hall. This pattern was square. It was impossible to form by chance. Although it had not completely appeared, there was definitely something strange about it. Everyone looked up at the smoke slowly gathering. There was an indescribable feeling in everyone's heart. Originally, they thought that there would not be any gains in the ancestral hall. They did not expect that after a few incense sticks, there would be such a surprise. Fortunately, Yang Chun suggested to burn incense. Otherwise, no one would discover that the smoke would form a pattern. The smoke quickly formed a square pattern. There were all kinds of complicated lines, which made people feel dizzy at a glance. Especially when the smoke was constantly moving, it was even more dizzying. It seems to be an array pattern. Gong Sunling was the first to see something, followed by the Murong sisters. They were more inclined towards arrays, so it was normal for them to see it first. Yang Chun did not analyze what the pattern was. Instead, he tried his best to memorize the pattern. As for studying it, he would think about it later. The smoke did not last for long and soon dissipated. The girls looked at it with some longing, especially Gong Sunling and the Murong sisters. They only remember a part of it. Most of it dissipated before they could memorize it. Burn the incense again and look at it again. Gong Sunling immediately suggested, "No need. I have already memorized it. Let's go out and study it." Yang Chun shook his head. Instinctively, he felt that this ancestral hall was not so simple. It was better to leave first. Chapter 1332. In general, the sect would not set up any killing traps in the ancestral hall. Those who came on weekdays were the disciples or guests of the ancestral hall. It was really unnecessary and should not target these people. But no one could guarantee that this sect would not take precautions. So when he felt something was wrong, Yang Chun still planned to leave first. Yang Chen's words were the golden rule in the ears of the women. When Yang Chun said to leave, no one would stay for a moment. This was proved by Yang Chun with the dignity of her husband and the facts again and again. No one had any opinions. Just like coming in, Yang Chun lifted the stone door, and the women quickly went out. Yang Chun was the last one to hold the stone door and walked out slowly. The stone door was stained with the flesh and blood of the master who had just been crushed in a meat juice. But at this time, he couldn't care less. Safety came first. Of course, although the Chinquin bag on his body was flattened, it was not broken, and it directly benefited Yang Chun. However, before Yang Chun walked to the outside door, he noticed that someone was confronting the women outside. When Yang Chun quickly walked to the door, those people were still there. He had seen these people a few times. There were more than a dozen of them. 2 of them were acquaintances that Yang Chun had asked for directions, and the others were the people who boarded the Langya crystal ship together. At this moment, the women were looking at these people covetously, and they were on guard. As soon as the women came out, they met these people. If it weren't for each of them raising their hands and making a sound to show that they were not malicious, the women would have already made a move. No one knew who made the light, but it was bright here, and everyone could see the surrounding scene clearly. It was also because those people didn't want to make a move that Yang Chun didn't turn hostile. "Grandmaster Yang, please do us a favor. We just want to go in and take a look and try our luck. There is no other intention." An acquaintance guide saw Yang Chun and immediately came forward to ask, "Grandmaster Yang, If you have any errands in the future, we will be at your service." He showed his sincerity as soon as he came up. He probably knew that the things they had couldn't arouse Yang Chen's interest, so he made such a promise. Speaking of which, they were very sincere. To pay such a price just to enter and have a look, it cannot be said that it was not a small price. However, these people didn't necessarily lose out. This Languel was just so strange. Sometimes the people in front clearly didn't find anything, but when the people behind went over to take a look, they didn't know when there were more treasures. It was purely dependent on each person's fate. What they said made sense. As one of the 3 great danger zones, it was even more coveted. No matter what Yang Chen obtained in there might be some fish that escaped the net. This was what everyone had in mind, but they did not have the ability to lift the stone door, so they could only discuss it with Yang Chen. 5 kilograms of top-grade spirit stones. There's no need to talk about what will happen in the future. Yang Chen didn't like their empty promises. In the end, he still vaguely felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what exactly was wrong. Since these people wanted to go in, who knew if there would be a future, it was better to trade real money on the spot. Everyone was overjoyed. Originally, they thought that they would owe Yang Chen a promise, but now it was only 5 kilograms of top-grade spirit stones. They were all masters, and no one said anything. Everyone took out 5 kilograms of top-grade spirit stones without hesitation, and then under the signal of Yang Chen, handed them over to Gao Yu. Everyone handed over the spirit stones, and then looked at Yang Chen eagerly, waiting for his order. Yang Chen didn't let everyone down. He held the stone door with one hand and quickly ordered, "Immediately prepare a few strong metal pillars to hold it." The group of people suddenly understood that no matter how great a person's strength was, there would be a time when it would be exhausted. If they used a bunch of pillars to hold it, there would be no problem in this aspect at all. Especially after holding the stone door, they didn't have to worry about the trouble of not letting go of Yang Chen after they went in. No one dared to neglect. Everyone carried a lot of ordinary metal materials with them. At this time, they couldn't care about anything else. They immediately took them out and began to sacrificial refine on the spot. It was just holding the stone door. There was no need to carefully refine it, as long as everyone's size was the same. Soon, there were more than a dozen metal pillars in front of Yang Chen. "Little Shui, come over and help hold it, and then I will let go." Yang Chen directly instructed Sun Qingxue to collect all the metal pillars, and then entered the door, putting one every few steps. After all of them were put in place, Sun Qingxue left, and Yang Chen also let go. The stone door sank down, and then fell on a dozen metal pillars, and was firmly supported. "Good luck." Yang Chen cupped his hands at everyone, and then took his wives and concubines and left quickly. The uneasy atmosphere just now was getting stronger and stronger. Yang Chen now didn't want to stay here for a long time. The departure of Yang Chen's family was in line with everyone's wishes. At this moment, facing the open stone door, inside was one of the 3 great danger zones, but more than a dozen of them began to be wary of each other again. There was no way. People's hearts were like this. Without the relationship between Yang Chen and the women, it was impossible to really cooperate. After arguing for a long time, it was the guide who had just negotiated with Yang Chen who said, "We can't use spiritual power inside the stone door, so what are we worried about? No one can break these pillars by relying on physical strength, so there's no need to think so much. Let's go in together." Sometimes many people just can't get rid of that feeling. Someone said so, everyone thought about it, and it was indeed reasonable. In that case, what were they waiting for? No one wanted to be left behind. Everyone swarmed in. After squeezing 4 or 5 times at the small entrance, more than a dozen people entered one after another. "Let's divide those crystal stones and use them as pocket money." Yang Chen's family was already 100 miles away at the moment, and Yang Chen's sense of crisis had disappeared. Only then did he stop and began to talk to the women about the distribution of those crystal stones. More than a dozen people each had 10 gene of the best grade spirit stones, and it was divided to each of them, which was a lot of wealth in any sect. Unfortunately, now the women had already been shocked by Yang Chen's wealth many times, and there were also people who had seen big scenes. who would put such a little crystal stone in their eyes? What everyone was interested in was why Yang Chun had to leave in a hurry, and what the pattern meant. Why are we in such a hurry? Are we afraid that they will find nothing when they go in and look for us? Sun Qingxue didn't think so much and asked Yang Chen directly. Of course, the latter sentence was a joke. Yang Chen didn't promise that there would be anything inside. I always feel that something is wrong. Yang Chen shook his head directly and said. Just as he said this, he heard a thunderous noise in the direction of the ancestral hall just now. And at the same time, a dazzling red light broke out, and the entire dark space was instantly illuminated into a blood color. Chapter 1333. After the sound and light lasted for a while, a fierce wind came from that direction. The wind was mixed with a very frightening aura. It blew continuously for the time it took to burn half an incense stick before it stopped. With the help of the red light just now, when Yang Chun and his family looked in the direction of the ancestral hall, the mountain had disappeared. Although they had already left 100 miles away, they should still be able to see such a high mountain. But at this time, it seemed that there was nothing there. Needless to say, everyone understood that something must have happened in the ancestral hall. Otherwise, there would not be such a movement. Just by looking at the fierce wind just now, they knew that the dozen masters were already in danger. Even Tao Junkie was deeply afraid of the aura in the wind, and it was still 100 miles away. If it happened at the scene, how terrifying would it be? Let's go. After Yang Chun raised his head and looked in that direction for a while, he said to the girls, and then everyone went on their way. Husband, how did you know that something would happen there? It was still Sun Qingxue, with a face full of curiosity. Although everyone's mood was a little heavy when they saw the scene just now, she still asked unwillingly. In fact, all the girls had the same question, but they just didn't know how to ask. If the ancestral hall of a sect is destroyed, it means that the sect is really exterminated. Yang Chen shook his head and said this, then explained, those people who went were definitely not as well behaved as us. I think that there must be some powerful prohibition in the ancestral hall. As long as the portraits of the ancestral tablets are destroyed, the jade and stone will be destroyed together. Everyone understood the reason, but when they thought that their family had just come out of that place, they felt a burst of fear. Fortunately, Yang Chen said at that time that he only said to burn incense for the portraits of the ancestral tablets, and did not do anything else. Otherwise, it would be their family that was destroyed by the prohibition. In addition to the fear, everyone was also a little excited. When others went in, they triggered the prohibition, but when their family went in, they saw a secret map. This was the difference. What was fortune? This was it. The commotion over there was so big that almost everyone in the space had seen it. He believed that a large group of people would soon gather there. Other than the two guides who had died there should be at least a few people who knew that it was one of the 3 great danger zones. If they thought about it again, it would be easy for them to guess that it was Yang Chun and the others. Even if it wasn't done by Yang Chun, it was definitely related to Yang Chen's family. Let's go to the next dangerous place. Sooner or later, someone will come to the door. Yang Chun did not neglect. The shuttle immediately found the right direction, flying to the second danger zone. Yang Chun had memorized the secret map in his mind. At this moment, he had already imprinted it on a few jade slips. Gong Sunling and the Murong sisters each had a jade slip and were studying it. Now, everyone could confirm that it was an array diagram, but they didn't know what kind of array diagram it was. They needed to study it further. Along the way, Yang Chun covered the whereabouts of the shuttle with the sea-pouring jasper cup and flew quietly towards the destination. Sure enough, as Yang Chen expected, countless people were disturbed by the movement on the side of the ancestral hall and gathered in that direction. Just within 100 feet of the shuttle, there were 4 people along the way. And this was only the closest ones. There were countless figures in other directions. The second danger zone was also a mountain, but relatively speaking, it could only be called a small hill, and it could not be compared with the mountain of the ancestral hall. It was bare, there was nothing but stones. The entrance to the danger zone was a door-like thing surrounded by 2 arc-shaped stones. The arc-shaped stones were like 2 brackets, one on each side, connected at the top and separated at the bottom, making the doorway look very weird, not like the architectural style of other places inside. There were few traces of corpses on the edge of the entrance to this danger zone, but don't think that no one died here. In fact, the number of people who died in this danger zone was definitely no less than any other danger zone. You can't see the corpses because the corpses have disappeared without a trace. That's all. Otherwise, people would not collectively call this place the Ancestral Hall and another place as the three great danger zones. As soon as they stood outside this doorway, everyone felt a very awkward feeling. It seemed that this place was not like a place with a formation at all. There was no spiritual power fluctuation, no traces of prohibition, and there was nothing strange about the exploration of spiritual awareness. Even the hill seemed to be solid. In this place, would there be good things inside? Everyone was skeptical and puzzled. The doorway was not deep, and spiritual awareness could easily explore to the end. It was also bare, and there was nothing inside. In the end, there was neither a passage nor any camouflage like a formation. What was inside? The 7 guides who were consulted at the time, each of them said this place. When everyone said this, they all said the same thing, which was basically exactly the same as what Yangchen felt. It didn't look like a place where there was anything at all, but as long as anyone walked into the passage, they would disappear without a trace, and no one knew where they went. What was even more strange was that the people who walked and never came out. Not only did they not come out from here, but they were not among the people who went out of the Langya well. They disappeared, which was very puzzling. Strange was strange, but there were more than 1 or 2 bold people. The more treacherous it was, the more attention it attracted. There were always people who were not afraid of death and wanted to touch their own opportunities. After taking a step in, they disappeared. Yangchen stood at the door and felt a very strange feeling. However, he felt different from the women. This feeling seemed to have been experienced somewhere. The feeling was very subtle, so small that it was almost imperceptible, but it was so familiar. If it weren't for Yangchen's spiritual awareness cultivation base that had reached the 10th grade of human immortal, it would be impossible to detect it. No way, so simple. Yangchen couldn't believe that he would have such good luck. With a sigh in his heart, he took the profound spirit furnace out of the merit ring and held it in his hand. In a flash, a spiritual power went in and awakened the sleeping dragon spirit that had just become a tool spirit. What's the matter? He didn't know how many years it had been since he fell asleep with countless kinds of flames so easily. He didn't have to worry about the backlash of the spirit-devouring dragon fire, and he didn't have to worry about the dissipation of the spirit body. The dragon spirit's sleep was really comfortable. Yangchen disturbed his good dream, which made the dragon spirit very dissatisfied. However, this dissatisfaction did not last. In the blink of an eye, the dragon spirit became energetic, and a surprise voice was passed to Yangchen's mind through the profound spirit furnace, "My dragon scale. Have you found it?" Chapter 1334. No one could have thought that the 2 arc-shaped stones that formed the doorway were simply 2 dragon scales. It was estimated that they fell during the battle and then embedded in this small stone mountain, forming such a unique shape. The battle at the time may have been very fierce. After the 2 dragon scales fell to the ground, they even melted the surrounding rocks and wrapped the dragon scales tightly in it. Only the exposed part still retained such a magical arc, making people mistakenly think that this was a portal. Of course, there were still some dragon scales on the original spirit devouring dragon fire. This kind of fire seed was silent. Even the Grand Master Yangchen, who played with fire, could not find it in time, let alone other people. This so-called doorway was not connected anywhere, just like the external performance that people use to explore with their spiritual awareness. But once a cultivator approached the so-called doorway between the 2 dragon scales, they would be quietly burned by the spirit-devouring dragon fire, and even the cultivator himself would not be aware of the burning. They were contaminated with the 7th grade fire seed, and it was still in the case of unpreparedness. Except for Yangchen, who could use the merit chapter to use a lot of merit to save himself and collect the fire seed, other people would only have a dead end if they encountered it. Even if it was a more powerful fire attribute master, they could not escape this disaster. They would die if they touched it. The cultivators who entered would disappear because they would eventually be burned by the spirit-devouring dragon fire. There was no weak water here to ease the fire and maintain the physical body. The pure spirit-devouring dragon fire would not leave any residue for people. It was not known how many cultivators thought that this mysterious disappearance was transferred to another space through some unknown, mysterious high-level formation. No one thought of such a simple result. This has also led to a batch of guys who entered the Langya well and boarded the Langya crystal ship. They began to explore the secrets of this so-called danger zone. They died generously, and their own cultivation base also became the nutrition to strengthen the spirit-devouring dragon fire. After all, the dragon scales were just dragon scales. There was no dragon spirit coordination and no other physical supplement. All the spirit-devouring dragon fire was only concentrated in the most central part of the two dragon scales, and it could not be felt from the outside. Only Yang Chun had such a keen sense and discovered this secret. The dragon spirit here was excited that its dragon scales had been found, and the profound spirit furnace was expected to be strengthened, and its own tribulation was hopeful. Yang Chun was smiling bitterly over there. Of the three dangerous places, one was the Ancestral Master Hall. The other two were basically two pieces of foreign dragon scales. Who knew what kind of place the third one was? It was fortunate that so many people had entered, but none of them had been able to unravel the secret within. But no matter what, finding the dragon scale was worth being happy about. Fortunately, the predecessors did not know this secret. Otherwise, how could Yang Chun take advantage of it now? As for the fact that 2/3 of the three great danger zones were ripping people off, they were ripping others off and had nothing to do with Yang Chun. He couldn't blame anyone else for his poor foresight. The girls looked at Yang Chun standing in front of the portal with a bitter smile and even took out the profound spirit furnace. Everyone was puzzled, and they were still worried that Yang Chun would walk in recklessly. "Husband, what are you laughing at?" asked Shi Wushuang, who was standing the closest to him. "How many people I laugh at are fools." Yang Chun replied, but then he asked the dragon spirit in his heart, "How do you collect this dragon scale? For others, it may be quite troublesome." The dragon spirit quickly replied, "It's very simple for you. Just pick it up and put it in the profound spirit furnace." Yang Chun was stunned and then shook his head and smiled bitterly. What the dragon spirit said was that for others, they had to be afraid of the power of the spirit-devouring dragon fire, but for Yang Chun, it was not necessary at all. The spirit-devouring dragon fire was already a kind of fire seed in the profound spirit furnace. In addition, Yang Chun had a merit chapter to protect himself. It could not hurt Yang Chun at all. What else did he care about? Yang Chun was also a blind person, so he asked. Everyone listened to Yang Chun's words, and they were all puzzled. Who was a fool? Yang Chun did not explain. He took a step forward and punched the edge of the doorway. The so-called doorway was simply a layer of stone wrapped around the dragon scale. After being smashed by Yang Chun, the stone was broken, revealing what was inside, 2 red slices with the thickness of a finger. What is this? The dragon scale has been falling for a long time. There is no dragon chi, or there's no aura at all. This is still maintaining the shape. Shi Wushuang looked in the eyes and asked in surprise. This is what we're looking for temporarily. Yang Chun explained and began to clean up the surrounding stone's dragon scale. The women were stunned for a while. This second danger zone was actually where the dragon scale was located. This result made people speechless. Everyone listened to Yang Chun's previous narration and quickly figured out why this place became a danger zone. They also understood what Yang Chun meant when he said that many people were fools, and they couldn't help but smile bitterly. Don't move, there's still the spirit-devouring dragon fire. Yang Chun stopped everyone from helping. Even Tao Junkie, who had the fire attribute, was no exception. The spirit-devouring dragon fire was quite powerful. Even if Tao Junkie was already at the peak Deshang stage, without sufficient preparation, it was impossible to touch it without being injured. In fact, even if Tao Junkie was fully prepared, it would be difficult to collect the spirit-devouring dragon fire. The 7th grade fire seed was not just a joke. It was not easy to collect as long as the cultivation base reached the peak Deshang stage. Otherwise, the life source fire seeds of countless masters should be 7th grade fire seeds. In fact, there were very few people who could really collect a 7th grade fire seed, like the pure Yang True fire. As the dragon spirit said, for Yang Chun, the process of collecting was very simple. After easily smashing the surrounding rocks, 2 pieces of dragon scales with a radius of several feet appeared in front of everyone. The dragon scales were so big. It was conceivable how huge the dragon spirit's body was when it was still there. The profound spirit furnace quickly grew, and the 2 dragon scales were directly thrown in. Without the control of Yang Chun, countless flames began to emerge around and began to burn the dragon scales. The next thing, for the time being, Yang Chun did not need to intervene too much. He believed that the dragon spirit would do its best to manage the refining fusion for the benefits of its own tribulation. Yang Chun only needed to provide spiritual power at any time and anywhere and stand by without disturbing the dragon spirit. Waiting. This is the 2nd danger zone. When Gao Yu asked this sentence, there was a feeling of absurdity in the hearts of all the women. For the sake of 2 such places, it was not known how many people who came in before had died, and only then did the name of the danger zone become known. However, the truth was so simple, so absurd, and so shameful that it made many people feel ashamed. This is the 2nd danger zone. Yang Chan replied affirmatively and reached out to hold Gao Yu's hand to comfort her. Others' danger zone, our blessing. That's all. Don't think too much about it. Chapter 1335. When they flew to the 3rd impasse, the women were obviously much less talkative. Gong Sunling and the Murong sisters were even more immersed in the jade slip, studying the array diagram with great concentration, and did not care about the things outside at all. The rest sat with Yang Chun, enjoying Shi Shanshan's fragrant tea and thinking about their own things. Actually, sometimes things are like this. Things are very simple, but many people think things are complicated. Yang Chan waited for 3 cups of tea before he opened his mouth and focused everyone's attention. Under Languel, there was originally a sect that was destroyed, and can be said with certainty that it was destroyed by the dragon spirit at that time. Yang Chun glanced at the beautiful faces in front of him and held Shi Shanshan, who was the closest to him, in his arms. After taking another sip of tea from her hand, he continued, "A sudden massacre. Who would have the time to set up so many puzzles? Some things, the simpler you think, the closer you are to the truth." All the women nodded slightly. Everyone was misled by the legend of Langya Well and the difficulty of boarding the Langya crystal ship, but they forgot the most basic principle of analysis. In this case, those who died in the past to build the reputation of the impasse, their deaths were really not worth it. The Great Way is simple, and it is even more so when cultivating. Some things are not so complicated. Yang Chun suddenly changed the topic to cultivation. As he spoke, Yang Chen's head also turned to Tao Junkie. "Junkie, you don't rely on alchemy to make a living. Why do you have to learn from me and practice those small fire-controlling techniques?" Tao Junkie was taken aback. She did not expect Yang Chun to change the topic directly to her. But after listening to Yang Chen's words, Tao Junkie also began to think about it involuntarily. "The direction of your previous cultivation was not wrong. There is no need to learn from me." Yang Chen's words continued to enter Tao Junkie's ears. Every word seemed to carry a magical power, causing her to involuntarily immerse herself in it. "You've somewhat forgotten the purpose of your cultivation. Over the years, under the influence of Yang Chun, almost 99% of the alchemists who knew the secrets of Yang Chen's alchemy had begun to learn from Yang Chun and practice the imperial fire technique. Even among the fire elementalists who were not pill refiners, almost half of them were following suit. Tao Junkie was one of them. With Tao Junkie's cultivation aptitude in the fire attribute and her current cultivation base, it was naturally a piece of cake for her to practice the fire-controlling technique that even He Lian, a foundation establishment cultivator, could master. During the practice, Tao Junkie also deeply learned some of the principles of controlling fire. Her ability to control fire improved even further. It was just that in Yang Chen's opinion, there was nothing wrong with Tao Junkie studying the fire-controlling technique, but to continue studying it in depth was somewhat neglecting the essentials. The foundation of cultivation was still the source of the great Tao and not some small tricks. Some things, when the realm reached a certain level, would naturally be understood. Just like junior high school students learning the parabolic function, it takes a long time to derive the formula of the maximum or minimum value, and finally, they would memorize the formula and apply it flexibly. But after learning calculus, it was just a simple derivation of the extreme value. The calculation was only one step, and it was not too difficult. When the realm reached a certain level, it would naturally be understood, and the truth was the same. Tao Junkie had just entered the peak Dashang stage from the late Dashang stage, and was still in the stage of consolidating her cultivation base. But recently, she forgot that her cultivation was to improve the realm and transcend the tribulation to ascend, not to temper the means of controlling fire. Any practice should be worked towards that general direction, and should not be entangled in a small area. As Yang Chen said, Tao Junkie did not rely on alchemy to make a living. There was really no need to be entangled in the delicate fire-controlling technique at this time. She should continue her own style and cultivate with indomitable will. This was the right way. Cultivation should have been very simple, but Tao Junkie thought of it as complicated, so such a situation occurred. Taking this opportunity, Yangchen woke up Tao Junkie by the way. She was his own concubine, and he couldn't watch her cultivation deviate. The matter of the 2 danger zones was a good time. Simple things were complicated by people, and there were 3 great danger zones. Now that the danger zones were cracked one by one, everyone knew that the truth was so simple. Tao Junkie was also a smart person and immediately realized her previous problems. "Thank you very much." Tao Junkie stood up and gave a respectful salute to Yang Chen. If it weren't for Yang Chen's timely awakening, maybe she would have to be confused for a long time to find her original path. This time, at least, saved her decades of cultivation time. After bowing to Yang Chen, Tao Junkie said again, "My husband, sisters, Junkie has a realization and has to retreat for a while. Please help me take care of my husband." The other women congratulated her. Tao Junkie had this realization. They believed that when she finished her retreat, it would be the time when her realm of the peak Dashang stage was firmly consolidated. This was a great joy, and of course, it was worth congratulating. Yang Chen didn't say anything, handed over a bottle of second-grade questioning inner heart pills, and then received Tao Junkie into the Dragon Palace. The spiritual power there was abundant, and no one would disturb her. It was the best place for retreat. After the consolidation of the peak Dashang stage, in fact, it was only a step away from crossing the tribulation and ascending. The difference was only a certain opportunity or a certain epiphany, which could trigger the tribulation and naturally cross the tribulation and ascend. With Yangchen there, was there a need to fear that such an opportunity would not appear? It could be said that Tao Junkie's tribulation in a short time was already a sure thing, and there would be no mistakes. It was estimated that the Yang family would stay in the Langya well for at least 100 years or so. Either Tao Junkie would cross her tribulation in the Langya well, or she would cross her tribulation immediately after going out. Anyway, there were some things that Tao Junkie was doomed to not see and would not experience. This was Yang Chen's protection of Tao Junkie, and also to avoid Tao Junkie's dilemma when facing the sect and righteousness. The Taishamen in the mortal world were destined to be destroyed. Yang Chen did not want Tao Junkie to see this scene with her own eyes and did not want her to experience it personally. The 3rd danger zone was in front of them. When they arrived at the destination, Yang Chen put away the shuttle and put the women down. Everyone began to carefully observe the 3rd danger zone. They didn't know if this last danger zone was as simple as the first 2, but it was artificially complicated. They didn't know if there was the pure, true fire that Yangchen was looking for. Everything could only wait until everyone cracked the secrets of this danger zone. This was indeed a formation. It was very obvious. It looked like the formation was very sharp, and there were a lot of dead bodies. Yang Chen's family was very cautious, standing on the periphery and observing carefully. Isn't this the array of the ancestral master hall? Gong Sunling looked at it for a while and suddenly said, Chapter 1336. Surprises always come unexpectedly. At first, Yang Chun thought that the third danger zone was a simple place that had been complicated by others, but now it seemed that it was far from the case. This place that was heavily protected by a strong formation was the true treasure trove of the ancient sect. Otherwise, its formation diagram would not have appeared in the sect's ancestral hall and existed in such an unimaginable way. No matter what, to be able to find such a treasure trove was always exciting. Moreover, Yang Chun had a premonition that the pure true fire that he was looking for might be preserved in this danger zone. He could recognize the formation diagram, but to understand the theory behind the formation, it was not a matter of a day or two. This kind of ancient formation diagram was tens of thousands of years different from the current knowledge system. To understand in detail would require Gong Sunling and the Murong sisters to spend a lot of time. This last danger zone formation was definitely a powerful formation. This point could be seen from the corpses strewn all over the area inside the formation. Those were the corpses that had not completely decayed. The fresh corpses could also be seen through the light released by Yang Chun and the rest. They were all fellows who did not believe in heresy. They always felt that they were destined to be blessed by the heavens, overflowing with good fortune. Gods and ghosts would avoid them. All the good things should belong to them. If these people did not have this kind of thinking, why would they still rush in wave after wave when they clearly saw the corpses as a warning? Riches move people's hearts. That was a common saying for secular people, but after seeing so many corpses, it seemed to have the same effect for cultivators. Since it was confirmed that this formation diagram was the one formed by the smoke in the ancestral hall, then there was no need for Yang Chen's family to stay at the entrance of this danger zone and actively attract the attention of others. If one wanted to study the formation diagram, there were many hidden places. The commotion at the ancestral hall attracted many people to rush over to see what was going on. It was believed that very soon, the second danger zone would disappear with their eyes. Those guides who asked Yang Chun for directions at that time would definitely think of Yang Chun. It was very likely that they would come to the third danger zone and wait for him here. Everyone only saw the ancestral master hall explode. They did not know that Yang Chun and his family did not obtain anything other than a formation map. They also did not know that the dozen or so fellows were most likely dead. Those who came to search for treasures could only think that Yang Chun and his family might have obtained something coveted from the ancestral master hall and a second impasse. All right. Wanted to understand the situation, Yang Chun was very inexplicable and said a sentence. When Yang Chen's words were heard by the women, they looked at him strangely. Yang Chun smiled and said his considerations. The women were still confused. Why did Yang Chun say that it was okay in such a situation? A Yu, a Ling, Shan Shan, and Little Shui have all gone to the demon continent to gain experience. You guys don't have this opportunity and lack some opportunities to deal with crazy killing. Yang Chun explained with a smile, right now is a good opportunity. We are definitely the target of public criticism. Everyone wants to get some benefits from us. It just so happens that you guys can also train. Isn't this a bit not good? As soon as they heard that all the other people here were imaginary enemies, sure Wu Shuang and the Murong sisters came from a big sect, and they belonged to the kind of righteous Tao sect. Using killing to hone themselves was obviously a bit repulsive. If they don't look for us, we won't do it, right? Yang Chun dispelled all the concerns of the women in one sentence. There's nothing in the world. People worry about nothing. If they are not confused by greed, we will not have a reason to do it. Everything is up to them, and no one is forcing them. Whether they live or die, it's up to them to decide. Although he said this in his mouth, before deciphering the diagram, Yang Chun still didn't want to carry out some meaningless killing. He just let Gong Sunling find a relatively hidden corner, opened the Mountain River geographical map, and took everyone in. The Mountain River geographical map was absolutely safe at this stage. Even if someone rushed in, they would never be the opponent of the hundreds of Dashang stage masters in the Mountain River geographical map. Moreover, as long as they rushed in, everything was not up to them, but decided by Gong Sunling. Gong Sunling and the Murong sisters were interpreting the diagram, and others were cultivating separately. In addition to paying attention to the refining of the core of the demon continent that he had been carrying out, Yangchen was waiting for the profound spirit furnace to refine the dragon scales. Yangchen didn't need to do it himself. As long as he continued to input spiritual power, the dragon scales would naturally control the appropriate flame to refine. It was not known how many years the dragon scales had been placed, except for a little spirit-devouring dragon fire that could continue to burn with the supplement of those cultivators. There was not much spiritual power left. The refinement this time had saved him a lot of effort. In addition, the dragon scales were originally part of the dragon spirit's physical body as the profound spirit furnace. There was no problem of compatibility at all. In just a few months, the two huge dragon scales with a radius of several feet began to slowly soften and turn into a red liquid. Such a smooth process was also thanks to the various kinds of fire seeds in the profound spirit furnace. Although there was only one kind of 7th grade fire seed, and there were only 2 kinds of 6th grade fire seeds, the fire seeds below the 6th grade included almost all the flames in the world. Almost all the flames that the fire dragon spirit wanted to use could be found. The melted dragon scales, under the control of Yangchen, slowly integrated into the furnace body of the profound spirit furnace. The furnace body, which had been supplemented with a lot of cyan crystal profound gold, began to slowly turn into a pale purple, and there were slight changes in the style. There was a dragon pattern on the furnace body. The dragon pattern was vivid and lifelike, as if it would break the furnace and fly out in the next moment. This change was only the beginning. When the profound spirit furnace was reformed, Yangchen felt a strong suction from the profound spirit furnace, and the spiritual power on his body was madly seized. In a moment, the 3rd fire true essence and the 4th fire true essence in Yangchen's body were almost absorbed. Yangchen had long been prepared. If the dragon spirit wanted to cross the tribulation, it must need a lot of spiritual power. Several kinds of original spiritual liquids in the gourd were already prepared. When he found that there was something different, Yangchen immediately took out the gourd and began to absorb it madly. The Great Yin and Yang 5 Elements secret art showed enough strength at this time. The 5 elements were exchanged anytime and anywhere, and other spiritual power was converted into fire attribute spiritual power. At the same time, it was supplemented from the outside, and it controlled the absorption speed of the dragon spirit. Finally, before the profound spirit furnace drained its own fire attribute spiritual power, it maintained an uninterrupted supply of spiritual power. It's actually the original spiritual power. Great. The dragon spirit also noticed that the spiritual power it absorbed was different. After making a happy cry, it began to absorb vigorously. Chapter 1337. Yangchen still underestimated what kind of spiritual power a dragon spirit needed to cross its tribulation. Fortunately, the various original spiritual powers in the gourd were sufficient, so Yangchen was not sucked dry by the damned dragon spirit. But even so, it took almost a few months for Yangchen to finally realize that the profound spirit furnace no longer absorbed his own spiritual power. After letting go of his hand, the profound spirit furnace automatically suspended in the air and began to grow slowly, almost to the limit. Then it stopped. At this moment, the profound spirit furnace was almost the size of a small room. After fusing with the dragon scales, it seemed that the shape had become a lot larger. The lavender furnace body rotated slowly in the air, and from time to time, a wisp of flame emerged, which looked very mysterious. A Ling, send us out. The profound spirit furnace is going to cross its tribulation. Yangchen told Gong Sunling, and then took the bottle of medicine garden in his hand. In a blink of an eye, Yangchen noticed that he seemed to have changed places. Yangchen knew that this was returning to the real world from the mountain river geographical map. Among the people present, perhaps only Yangchen and Gong Sunling could feel this change. Others, Even Gao Yu, Shi Shanshan, and Sun Qingxue, who had already reached the second grade of the human immortal realm, could not detect it. The profound spirit furnace is going to cross its tribulation. The women who heard this were a little surprised. They had only heard of some legendary magic weapons that would cross their tribulation, but they had never imagined that it would happen in front of them. Everyone was in high spirits, waiting to observe the miracle. A Ling protect everyone. After Yang Chun told Gong Sunling, he temporarily ignored his wives and concubines. At the moment, the magic weapon's tribulation was important, and the explanation would be said later. A Zhu and a Bai, the spirit of the profound spirit furnace is going to cross its tribulation. You should see it. The purpose of Yang Chun taking out the medicine garden bottle was to let a Zhu and a Bai watch the dragon spirit's tribulation. At this moment, he also summoned the two women. Once again, the girls were surprised to see the shadows of two young girls appear beside Yang Chun. They stood quietly, waiting to watch the scene of the dragon spirit transcending the tribulation. These two girls had never seen it before, even Gao Yu. As for where they came from, no one knew. It was just that this time was really not the time to care about this. The girls were also resisting their curiosity and waiting for the profound spirit furnace to cross the tribulation. The tribulation clouds began to condense, but in this pitch-black space, no one could see this scene. However, the aura of the heavenly tribulation could not be hidden from the others. Everyone looked in that direction in confusion. There was a shockingly powerful aura gathering there. Kacha-kacha! The thick thunder light mercilessly hit the profound spirit furnace, and the thunder light illuminated the surrounding environment. When the people saw this scene from afar, they realized that someone was undergoing a tribulation. It was just strange that those who came in were all masters of the nascent soul and Deshang stage. How could there be people crossing the thunder tribulation? Yes, there must be a master who brought in the younger generation of the peak Jidan stage. And when it was time to break through, it triggered the tribulation. Everyone thought so in their hearts, and the time was also a lot more at ease. A Jidan stage cultivator crossing the thunder tribulation to become a Yuanying stage was not worthy of many people's attention. The only difference from the ordinary tribulation was that the thunder light was very thick, almost comparable to the time when Yang Chun crossed the tribulation. Unfortunately, the thunder tribulation, no matter how heaven-defying it was just a thunder tribulation, and it could not make many masters of the Yuanying stage and Deshang stage work hard. Yang Chen's heart was clear. The profound spirit furnace crossing the tribulation was just like the heaven-seizing pill crossing the tribulation in the past. It started with the thunder tribulation, and then it would cross the Yin fire tribulation and the wind tribulation step by step. After all of them, it was considered to have completed the tribulation. The body of the profound spirit furnace was shining in the thunder light, and at the same time, everyone could clearly see that after each thunder light baptism, the furnace body would become smaller. Everyone understood that this was the same as the cultivator crossing the tribulation and using the tribulation to temper the body. After a while, the 9 chaotic thunder tribulation ended. The tribulation clouds of the thunder tribulation dissipated, and then the tribulation clouds of the Yin fire tribulation began to condense. Everyone in the space was surprised to find that the tribulation clouds of the Yin fire tribulation were produced, and someone was about to cross the Yin fire tribulation. This time, it was not that no one cared. At least half of the people began to pay attention to this direction, and those who were close had already begun to rush to this side. No matter what, it was impossible to stop the fall of the Yin fire tribulation. The profound spirit furnace began the baptism of the Yin fire tribulation in the cheerful dragon spirit. The voice of the dragon spirit, for the time being, only Yang Chun could hear it. Unfortunately, it could not be shared with the people around him, so that they could also hear it. A Zhu and a Bai have been beside Yang Chun, staring at the scene of the dragon spirit's tribulation and madly absorbing the experience. Today's dragon spirit would be their future, and they couldn't help but be tempted. Before Yang Chun found the blood demon vine, found the immortal peach, and even found the first with spiritual solution and the second with spiritual solution. Aju and Abai could not reach the realm of crossing the tribulation. At best, they were only at the level of the Yuaniing stage, and they could not attract the tribulation at all. This was why the owner of the medicine garden left them in the mortal world. Since there was a tool spirit, if the tool spirit could not grow with the master, then it would be a disaster for the tool spirit to bring it to the spiritual world. It was not as good as a magic weapon without a tool spirit. At that time, the owner of the medicine garden coveted the convenience of the tool spirit to take care of the spirit medicine and refine the two women into tool spirits. But in the end, he could only leave the medicine garden in the mortal world, which benefited Yangchun. With the irrigation of a large number of first with spiritual solution and second with spiritual solution, coupled with their integration of the blood demon vine, demonized demon vine, and the immortal peach tree, Aju and Abai finally grew to the point where it was possible to cross the tribulation. However, the two of them did not have a clear understanding of their own realm like the dragon spirit, and knew that they should cross the tribulation. Therefore, the two women were still in chaos. Yangchun himself also ignored this problem. It was not until the dragon spirit proposed to cross the tribulation that Yangchun realized that Aju and Abai were probably on the verge of crossing the tribulation. It just so happened that the dragon spirit's tribulation could give the two of them a living demonstration. Such an opportunity was simply a gift from the heavens. Under the close observation of Yangchun's family, under the attentive experience of Aju and Abai, under the puzzled attention of countless people around, the fire tribulation began quietly. The profound spirit furnace was a magic weapon of the fire attribute. It was integrated with the cyan crystal, profound gold, and the dragon scales. All of them were materials of the fire attribute. In addition, it had absorbed thousands of kinds of fire seeds. The fire that people heard of was simply a great tonic for the profound spirit furnace. Relying on the control of the dragon spirit. At the beginning of each fire tribulation, the profound spirit furnace would use the power of the fire to temper itself and also quietly absorb a wisp of fire. When the 9 fire tribulation fell, it could also absorb 9 wisps of fire. Chapter 1338. Everything was controlled by the spirit of the profound spirit furnace. What happened during the tribulation, Yangchun did not know now. He only knew that the profound spirit furnace had now successfully passed the fire tribulation and was preparing to welcome the arrival of the next section of the wind tribulation. The aura in the sky was already very obvious. The wind tribulation was not comparable to the thunder tribulation and the fire tribulation. In the space of tens of thousands of miles, even if you hide in the deepest hole, you can still clearly feel the aura of the heavenly tribulation. Every master who successfully crossed the tribulation and ascended could be known by many people, because the influence of the wind tribulation was too wide. Now, countless people have rushed to the vicinity and saw all this through the flashing thunder in the sky. No one dared to use their spiritual awareness to explore at this time. It was to find trouble for themselves. Their spiritual awareness invaded the scope of the master's tribulation, which was to actively provoke the heavenly tribulation, and they would definitely be affected. Everyone could only stand far away from the safety zone and watch this grand occasion with the help of the flickering dim light. Today was destined to be a day that countless people would remember forever. Under the witness of at least hundreds of people, a tall lavender pill furnace was suspended in the air and began its tribulation process. The wind tribulation blew past, and its body shrank and condensed again and again, and finally turned into a pill furnace with a height of more than 1 foot. The wind tribulation disappeared, and the lavender pill furnace slowly fell into the hands of Yangchun not far away. This scene fell into the eyes of all the people who were watching the wind tribulation. What is that? Oh my God. No way. Magic weapon tribulation? Alchemy furnace tribulation. How is it possible? The masters who witnessed all this couldn't believe their eyes. No one dared to make a sound when the profound spirit furnace was crossing the tribulation. After this tribulation, everyone's mouth involuntarily made all kinds of exclamations. If it weren't for all the people around them having such a tone, so many masters would simply doubt whether everyone was collectively in an illusion. Otherwise, how could they see the legendary scene? The magic weapon tribulation, this kind of scene that only existed in legends, actually happened once in front of their own eyes. You can't blame everyone for being strange. This scene, whether it was the people who watched the ceremony or what happened, was really a rare example. No wonder he felt the thunder tribulation, the fire tribulation, and the black wind tribulation gathering together in just a short while. It turned out that it was the magic treasures tribulation. The freaks in front had an explanation immediately. This trip to the Langia well was definitely not in vain. Even if he did not obtain anything, just being able to survive and witness this scene was already worth the trip. In the future, when he returned to the outside world, this experience would definitely be something that countless people would be proud of. After exclaiming in admiration, many people had another thought. How good would it be if the alchemy furnace used to cross the tribulation was his? As soon as this thought popped up, countless people couldn't control their thoughts, and their eyes turned bloodshot. What kind of concept was a magic treasure that had survived heavenly tribulation? It was not an exaggeration to say that it was earth-shattering. Such a magic treasure was at the pinnacle of the mortal world, to the point where it could not be improved. Even in the spiritual world and the immortal world, it was probably a treasure that countless experts dreamed of. Why did everyone come to Languel? At the end of the day, wasn't it all for the sake of getting rich and finding the treasures hidden deep within the Languel? However, what kind of treasure could be compared to the magic treasure that everyone had witnessed transcending the thunder tribulation, fire tribulation, and wind tribulation? Some people recognized Yang Chen's identity, but in this dark environment, without using their divine consciousness to explore, there were still more people who did not recognize Yang Chen. Everyone only knew that someone had obtained a magic treasure after transcending the tribulation. This kind of magic treasure should belong to a virtuous person, and that was enough. What was a virtuous person? In a world of cultivators, those who had a high cultivation level were not virtuous. Everyone began to think about how to find the owner of the magic treasure and snatch the alchemy furnace used to transcend the tribulation. Those who recognized Yang Chen's identity were also tempted. What was Yang Chen most famous for these years? Wasn't it his identity as a fifth-grade alchemist? That alchemy furnace belonged to Yang Chen. With such a powerful alchemy furnace, perhaps Yang Chen could become a fifth-grade alchemist master because of this magic treasure alchemy furnace. The cultivation secret of the fifth-grade alchemist master that Yang Chen sold was not something that everyone was qualified to know. The sect that was bought at a high price, which one of them was not carefully hidden, and then secretly cultivated the most core disciples of their own sect? How could the guys who entered the Languel to try their luck have a chance to know this? Ignorance brought more guesses. The experts who had witnessed the alchemy cauldron's tribulation with their own eyes had turned their guesses in the direction of what they thought was the most reasonable explanation. An alchemy furnace that could transcend the tribulation. Didn't this explain everything? While outsiders were using their brains, Yang Chen didn't care at all. Holding the profound spirit furnace after transcending the tribulation, Yang Chen has fallen into ecstasy. This was his first magic weapon to cross the tribulation. This alone was enough to make Yang Chen happy to the point that he couldn't control himself. If he didn't study it immediately after getting it, when would he wait? Zhu and Abai had been sent back to the medicine garden in time. He believed that after witnessing the tribulation of the profound spirit furnace, they would definitely have some insights. At this time, it was better to let them absorb and digest what they saw, without disturbing them. The girls were equally happy, but looking at Yang Chen's overjoyed appearance, no one disturbed him. Even Gao Yu, who wanted to know the identity of Zhu and Abai the most, stood aside and looked at Yang Chen with a smile, waiting for Yang Chen to wake up from that state. Yang Chen couldn't care about anything else. The first thing he did after getting the pill furnace was to use his spiritual awareness to check the changes in the pill furnace. As soon as his spiritual awareness entered the profound spirit furnace, it was connected with the consciousness of the dragon spirit. After experiencing the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, coupled with the profound spirit furnace as a body, the state of the dragon spirit was many times better than before, and it was no longer that kind of weak appearance. As soon as it came into contact with Yang Chen's spiritual awareness, the dragon spirit released a powerful aura, at least the level of the human immortal fourth grade. The aura was mixed with an invisible power, as if it wanted to give Yang Chen a show of strength. This level of pressure could not make Yang Chen feel anything. Yang Chen just took the pressure issued by the dragon spirit as if nothing had happened, and then began to explore the changes in the profound spirit furnace. Yang Chen's performance made the dragon spirit a little hit. He thought that after experiencing the heavenly tribulation, he could press down on Yang Chen, and also a little revenge on him for threatening himself with Xiao Tian, but he didn't expect it to be all useless. You have the dragon essence to protect your body. You are lucky. After discovering that he couldn't do anything to Yang Chen, the dragon spirit could only make such a helpless murmur. Chapter 1339. Yang Chen just smiled and did not intend to argue with Long Yuan. Anyway, the dragon spirit has promised to be the tool spirit of his own profound spirit furnace before he finds the object of possession. This little bit of dissatisfaction can be completely ignored as long as he does his best to refine pills for himself during this period of time as a tool spirit. Because of the addition of dragon scales in the materials, the biggest change was that the profound spirit furnace seemed to have a life and a feeling, and all parts of the furnace body had a feeling of life. When the medicinal materials entered the profound spirit furnace, it was as if Yang Chen's hand was stroking it. At the same time, it seemed that there was an unspeakable visual change. What changes in the medicinal liquid during alchemy would be more vivid and clear to Yang Chen. The profound spirit furnace seemed to be easier to control. In particular, so many fire seeds were arranged together by the dragon spirit in a more efficient way, and it was more convenient to use. This change alone could greatly improve the efficiency of Yang Chen's alchemy. In the past, it took a year to refine the medicinal pills, but now it may only take 11 months to complete. Of course, this was purely Yang Chen's own estimate. To know how long it would take, he needed to master it in actual alchemy. Another most powerful change was to upgrade the grade of the medicinal pills. In the past, Yang Chen knew that the profound spirit furnace could improve the grade of the medicinal pills. Ordinary medicinal pills, as long as they were refined by the profound spirit furnace, could automatically increase a grade. For a long time, Yang Chen has only produced the second-grade medicinal pills because of this reason. In the past, the upgrade grade was limited to ordinary medicinal pills, such as the questioning inner heart pill, which was a difficult medicinal pill, could only be upgraded by half a grade at most. However, now Yang Chen could clearly know that no matter what medicinal pill it was, the profound spirit furnace could upgrade a grade. Even if it was the heaven-seizing pill, it could directly produce the second-grade heaven-seizing pill. This was a great change, which also meant that Yang Chen could take out the fourth grade or even the fifth grade questioning inner heart pill at any time and anywhere. It must be known that before the questioning inner heart pill, Yang Chen could at most produce the second grade. The third grade might be barely possible, but the fourth grade was definitely not sure. The second grade questioning inner heart pill has made countless people scramble for it. It can be imagined how crazy it would be if the fourth grade or the fifth grade questioning inner heart pill came into being. Those masters who had enough cultivation but lack of confidence may not need to consume any 100 years pills or hide in the demon seal array to cultivate. A fourth grade questioning inner heart pill absolutely guaranteed to ascend. Everything was Yang Chen's estimation. Now that the pill furnace was in his hand, Yang Chen could not bear it. He immediately told his wife and concubine, Ling, "Protector, I want to refine pills." Then, without saying anything, he directly entered the mountain river geographical map, set up his posture, and began to refine pills. None of the girls would interfere with Yang Chen at this time. They even wanted to know more than Yang Chen. What changes would there be after the calamity of the profound spirit furnace? Yang Chen was about to refine the pill, and it was also the time to test it. The girls immediately began to get busy. They followed Yang Chun into the mountain and river diagram and began to protect the surroundings. Of course, he would refine the highest grade medicinal pill. Yang Chun directly found a lot of hundreds of thousands of years old elixirs from the third layer of the medicine garden space, all of which were the medicinal materials needed for the questioning inner heart pill. After careful tempering, Yang Chun began to throw these elixirs into the profound spirit furnace one by one. Soon Yang Chun discovered that it was superfluous for him to quench it outside in advance. After the profound spirit furnace had a tool spirit, it would automatically refine the medicinal materials. Because of the dragon scales and the aura of the dragon yuan, the effect of the refined medicinal materials was better than Yang Chun's refining outside. Immersed in the alchemy, Yang Chun has forgotten the passage of time. He only knew that he easily completed the first grade refining of the questioning inner heart pill, then completed the second grade, refining relatively easily, and completed the third grade, refining with confidence. When it came to the fourth grade refining, he felt that he was not so completely sure of success. Even so, under the careful control of Yang Chun, with the cooperation of the dragon spirit, and Yang Chun's conscious little risks, the fourth grade refining experienced several mistakes that could not be regarded as accidents, and was finally completed without danger. Next, Yang Chun did not continue, and continuing the fifth grade refining would be a waste of things. Hundreds of thousands of years old elixirs were not cabbages that could be casually wasted. Stop the furnace, collect the pills. Yang Chun used a series of skillful techniques in the Supreme Lord Pill scripture to draw a perfect end to this experimental alchemy. A furnace of materials, a total of 666 questioning inner heart pills were successfully refined. With such a good thing as the medicine nourishing gourd, the medicinal pills that Yang Chun refined must be placed in it. After collecting the medicinal pills, Yang Chun picked one in his hand and observed it carefully. The round medicinal pill had a smooth and round appearance, like a delicate jade surface. On the pure white elixir, there were 5 slender and clear dragon-shaped elixir marks evenly distributed. The 5 dragon heads converged in a certain position on the elixir, leaving a small white circular area. It was like a scene of 5 dragons playing with a pearl, adding to the beauty of the elixir. "It's beautiful!" Sun Qingshua's exclamation came from the side, and Yang Chun didn't even think about it. He turned directly and stuffed the medicinal pill into Sun Qingshua's hand. Then he looked at the smiling wives and concubines around him. Each of them had one, no one left. Except for Tao Junkie, who was still in retreat, everyone had one. What kind of medicinal pill is this? The medicine chi was perfectly locked in the medicinal pill. Everyone had never seen this kind of medicinal pill with dragon marks, and no one knew what this medicinal pill was. On behalf of everyone, Gao Yu asked directly. As she asked, she put the medicinal pill in front of her eyes and observed it carefully. 5 revolutions questioning inner heart pill. My husband's craftsmanship is not bad. Yang Chun looked at the happy faces of the women, and he was happy in his heart and replied happily. For revolutions refining. But the result was a 5 revolutions medicinal pill. Even if it was a medicinal pill of the level of questioning inner heart pill, Yang Chun couldn't help but be happy. Murong Yin, who was admiring the beauty of the medicinal pill, almost shivered and threw the medicinal pill in her hand. The other women were not much better. They were all shocked, and then involuntarily clenched their hands. Fortunately, everyone reacted in time. Otherwise, the medicinal pill would definitely be crushed. The questioning inner heart pill was already a monster. On ordinary days, everyone would take the second revolution's questioning inner heart pill for ordinary retreat cultivation, which made people feel that they were really wasting natural resources. Now suddenly holding a 5 revolutions questioning inner heart pill in her hand, even Gao Yushir Shan, who was in a stable state of mind, could not help but feel excited. After the excitement, all the women had the same reaction. They cautiously put the medicinal pill, which could be said to be the most precious in the mortal world, into their best jade bottle and carefully put it into their chinkoan bag. Only then did their beautiful eyes shine brightly, and they looked at their husband. Chapter 1340. When the alchemy furnace crossed the tribulation, who were the two girls beside you? Just when Yang Chen was waiting for the women to praise him with an admiring tone, Gao Yu's question made Yang Chen almost smile bitterly. There was no other reason. The tone of his master and wife was full of an indescribable taste. Are you talking about them? Yang Chen's heart moved, and he called a Zhu and a Bai out again. Yang Chen did not calculate how long he had been refining the alchemy, and the two women had completed the process of absorbing the experience of the profound spirit furnace. As soon as the two women appeared, they faced the somewhat impolite eyes of the wives and concubines. Yang Chen was now a veteran in the field of flowers. Of course, he understood what this look meant. Gao Yu's eyes were particularly impolite, not only facing a Zhu and a Bai, but also targeting Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters. You must know that Gao Yu had already told them to look after their husband. As a result, two young women appeared inexplicably around Yang Chen. Greetings, mistress. A Zhu and a Bai already knew the identity of Gao Yu and the others. Of course, they didn't even think about it. This title of mistress made Gao Yu and the women look at each other and look at Yang Chen with puzzled eyes. Come with me. Yang Chen waved his hand and brought all the women into the medicine garden. Everyone knew that Yang Chen had a medicine garden, but no one had ever come in. As soon as they came in, the women saw the dense, profound yang fruit field, and hundreds of thousands of profound yang fruits of thousands of years were presented in front of the women. Accustomed to seeing a large amount of wealth appear in front of them, the women were not shocked by such a scene. However, after watching Yang Chen pick one and peel it casually and eat it like eating a fruit, there was still a very strange feeling. There were rare medicinal materials everywhere that could be sold at a lot of prices outside. This posture, this scene, looking at the large ginseng field not far away, it was not ginseng, it was clearly a crop. Everyone, don't just watch, do it yourselves. Yang Chen smiled at everyone, waved his hand and said, the profound yang fruit is better when it's peeled. Remember, don't try to change the topic. Gao Yu had eaten a lot of profound yang fruit and was not surprised at all. She stared at the problem outside. Oh, that's their real bodies. Yang Chen pointed behind the girls, and they turned their heads in unison. Then they saw a huge peach tree and lush vines. A Zhu and a Bai are the spirits of my medicine garden. With the words of Yang Chen, the peach tree turned into a Zhu and the rattan turned into a Bai. The two women once again stood in front of the girls. After understanding the identity of a Zhu and a Bai, when the women looked at them again, there was a lot more sympathy in their eyes. Even if they were demons, knowing that they had been refined alive into weapon spirits was not something to be happy about. They looked at a Zhu and a Bai with sympathetic eyes, and when they looked at Yang Chen, there was a little more blame in the eyes of the women. This method of refining living creatures into weapon spirits could be said to be against reason, and it was not successful every time. Every magic weapon with a weapon spirit, it was not known how many lives it took to complete it, and it was not taken by the Dao sex cultivators. It's just that Yang Chen was the husband of the women, and they couldn't directly blame him. They could only use this kind of gaze to express their attitude. When I got the medicine garden, they were already weapon spirits. Yang Chen shook his head and explained. In fact, he didn't like this method. If the weapon spirit was not willing, even if it became a weapon spirit, it would not be of much help to the master. It was better not to have it. The dragon spirit had reached an agreement with Yang Chen and voluntarily became a weapon spirit. So there was the profound spirit furnace tribulation. A Zhu and a Bai were estimated to be unwilling to cooperate with the original master at that time, so they were abandoned in the mortal world. Fortunately, Yang Chen provided them with the blood phantom vine and the immortal peach tree, so that they were proud of the integration and promotion, and also obtained a recognition of the two women, which was the real master. After understanding this layer of reason, the women no longer looked at Yang Chen with that kind of eyes. At the same time, they also understood why Yang Chen would let a Zhu and a Bai appear to watch the ceremony when the profound spirit furnace tribulation. It was clearly to prepare for the medicine garden. Since they entered the medicine garden, of course, it was necessary to take a closer look and understand the family assets of their husband. Yang Chun didn't mind and let them observe at will. Soon, except for Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, the other women were attracted by the dozens of thunder pomegranate trees that were thousands of years old. Is this thunder pomegranate? Sure, Wushuang looked at the pomegranate fruits that were bigger than a human head on the tree and couldn't help but ask. In fact, she just couldn't believe it. How could such an experienced and knowledgeable master not recognize the thunder pomegranate? It's just that everyone has never heard of anyone who has successfully planted the thunder pomegranate. Seeing this scene in front of them, they couldn't help but be a little surprised. Yang Qin's joke on the heaven stairway was impossible to spread widely. After so many years, who would notice what a little guy in the qi refining stage had said that time? So many thunder pomegranates. Each one was enough to help a peak Jidan stage cultivator successfully cross the tribulation. According to this calculation, if Yang Qian was willing to take out these thunder pomegranates, he could definitely create a large number of Yuanying stage masters for Chunyang Palace in a short period of time. The women didn't need the thunder pomegranate, so they wouldn't pay attention to this on weekdays. No one would know that in the past few hundred years, almost all the thunder pomegranates on the market came from Yang Qian, and through the release of the Wanbao Tower and the Wine Immortal House, he really made a lot of spirit stones. As for the creation of Yuanying stage masters that everyone imagined, Yang Qian did not support doing so. Yang Qian would only let the other party use the thunder pomegranate unless it was a disciple whose qualifications were really limited and who had contributed to the sect. Otherwise, for the user, it would be harmful, and it would basically cut off the road of further improvement in the future, and they could only die in the Yuanying stage. The thunder pomegranate was just a small episode. The women had seen things that were 100 times more precious than this. At most, they were a little surprised here, and then when they remembered that this was their husband's medicine garden, they immediately felt that it was reasonable. After the women turned around in the medicine garden, they left the medicine garden with satisfaction. However, after this trip, the women knew some of Yang Qin's family background, and Yang Qian did not hide anything from them at all. Psychologically, everyone felt that they were closer to Yang Qian. Of course, the key was to know that a Zhu and a Bai would never be a threat. This was the key point. The most important thing was that Yang Qian already had a magic weapon that could cross the tribulation at any time. Thinking of the 5 revolutions questioning inner heart pill that he saw not long ago, it seemed that his husband was constantly creating miracles. Chapter 1341. Of course, the 5 revolutions questioning inner heart pill was once again valued by the women. Everyone happily asked Yang Qian about the changes after the calamity of the profound spirit furnace. After Yang Qian also answered one by one, the happy upsurge of the women slowly extinguished. Husband, we have studied the array diagram. When will we go to the 3rd danger zone to see it? Gong Sunling saw that everyone was quiet, so she threw out a topic that surprised Yang Qian. Speaking of it, Gong Sunling and the Murong sisters have been studying the array diagram for several years. Yang Qian did not calculate himself. It took him 6 years to refine the 5 revolutions questioning inner heart pill. In the past few years, Gong Sunling had figured out the array diagram, but they had been waiting for Yang Qian to finish the alchemy, and then they would go to explore the 3rd danger zone together. This array diagram was actually not more complicated than the Demon Seal array. Gong Sunling did not take such a long time to lay out the array according to the array diagram of the Demon Seal array. Of course, this was not to say that Gong Sunling's level was not enough, but the two were somewhat different. The arrangement of the Demon Seal array was just equivalent to the construction according to the drawings. You could ignore the principle and don't worry about how to break the array as long as the array was laid out. Now, this array diagram. It was necessary for Gong Sunling to study how to safely enter the array that has been activated or simply break the array. The difficulty was naturally different. Fortunately, Gong Sunling's attainments in the array were really not low. After so many years, with the help of the Murong sisters, she found a safe passage to enter the array in the array diagram. Just waiting for Yang Qian to wake up, they would enter the danger zone to explore. What are you waiting for? Hurry up. Yang Qian immediately came up with spirit. Good things came one after another. He was now eager to know if there was the pure, true fire he was looking for in the third danger zone. When Yangchun was alchemy, Gong Sunling had taken everyone to the outside of the third danger zone. When they came to the real world from the Mountain River geographical map, they stood not far in front of the danger zone. During the few years that Yang Chen's family disappeared, the space under the Langya well was not peaceful at all. Ever since the discovery of a magic treasure for crossing tribulations, many people had been deliberately searching for the whereabouts of the magic treasure. During this period, it was unknown how many disputes had occurred and how many lives had been lost. Over the past few years, they had not been able to find the whereabouts of Yang Chen's family. Fighting and killing each other without the right person was really not worth it. After discovering this, everyone finally calmed down a little and went on their own to find their own opportunities. The formations that had yet to be opened became their targets. However, in the end, the danger zone was still a danger zone. There were a few dozen people who did not give up and charged in with all their might. After becoming corpses, the people who came later knew that they did not have any opportunities, so they did not try their luck here. Right now, there was no one in the danger zone. Yang Chen's family appeared here. Basically, there were only a dozen of them and no one else. However, Yang Chen immediately discovered that someone was using their divine sense to monitor this place from a distance. Come to think of it, there were still people who did not give up. Yang Chen could not be bothered with these guys. Now, what he was most concerned about was whether there was pure, true fire inside and nothing else. If those people wanted to monitor him, then so be it. Anyway, they did not dare to enter the array formation. After exhorting everyone, Gong Sunling took the lead and charged into the array formation of the third danger zone. Among the people who had been monitoring from a distance, there were a few guides who had pointed out the 3 great danger zones to Yang Chen. They definitely knew that Yang Chen was the person who had the alchemy furnace for crossing tribulations, so they had been waiting. Their hard work paid off. Finally, they waited for Yang Chen's family. The disappearance of the 2 great danger zones, the Ancestral Master Hall and the Dragon Scale Danger Zone, made the guides suspect that Yang Chen's family had something to do with it, especially when they recognized that the alchemy furnace for crossing tribulations belonged to Yang Chen. They were even more certain of this idea. They did not cross the tribulation earlier or later, but they crossed the tribulation in the Langya well. If they did not get something good in it, only ghosts would believe it. Of course, there would not be such a great opportunity in an ordinary place. The good things definitely came from the 3 great danger zones. The fact that 2 dangerous places had been destroyed in a row proved this point even more clearly. In particular, after Yang Chen asked about the 3 great danger zones, 2 of the danger zones had consecutive accidents. If it was not Yang Chen's family, who else could it be? Now, they finally waited for Yang Chen's family to appear in front of the 3rd danger zone. Moreover, they did not seem to hesitate and directly walked into the array formation of the danger zone. Everyone could not wait to rush forward. They used their divine sense to explore and scrupulously, waiting to see the result after Yang Chen's family entered the array formation. According to common sense, as long as a person entered at most 20 steps, they would trigger the attack of the array formation and die. The power of the array formation was so strong that the masters of the Deshang stage could not retreat from this mere 20 steps and could only fall in the array formation. However, Yang Chen's family had been in for a long time. From the distance, it was definitely more than 50 steps, but they did not trigger the attack of the array formation. What did this mean? Those who were secretly monitoring almost couldn't wait to rush to the front of the danger zone and wanted to figure out what was going on. Even the people who rushed to the front had no scruples to make the light and wanted to see the situation here. Yang Chen's family really did not have an accident. This was the truth that more than a dozen people saw with their own eyes. Right in front of them, Yang Chen's family easily passed through the array formation and then disappeared into the danger zone. But they could only watch and did not dare to go further. That array formation was a natural barrier, blocking them outside. Wait, they will always come out. There are not many people who rushed over, only a dozen. Of course, the fewer people who knew the secret, the better. Watching Yang Chen's family enter the danger zone, It was impossible not to envy them, but they could do nothing but wait. At the same time, everyone also made up their minds. Even if they didn't talk about Yang Chen's alchemy furnace, just the harvest from entering the 3 danger zones was worth it for them to make a move. Yang Chen's family, who had already entered the danger zone, ignored the feelings of those people outside. They were now happy with the scene they saw in front of them. How could they care about other things? The 3rd danger zone was really related to the Ancestral Master Hall, or rather, it was related to the ancient sect. This was simply a place similar to the sect's secret pavilion. The location where everyone was located was a relatively small space, only 100 miles, but it was full of good things everywhere. With a casual exploration of spiritual awareness, one could find a magic weapon or material. Most of the collections of the ancient sect were here. Yang Chen's face also showed a smile. The unique feeling of a powerful fire seed in a certain place made him completely relieved. This trip was not in vain. Chapter 1342. What do you like? What do you find? You can take it yourself. Yang Chen said to his women with a smile, and then immediately added, "The fire seed is mine. No one can grab it from me." Yang Chen's words caused the women to burst into laughter. Sometimes, their own husband could always make them laugh. In cultivation, there were not many opportunities to laugh happily. Of course, this was a joke. Who would compete with Yang Chen? Even if they wanted to grab the fire seed, they had to have that ability, right? A 7th grade fire seed was not something that anyone could get their hands on, not to mention others. Yang Chen's Master Gao Yu was still waiting for the Yin Fire Tribulation before collecting the Purple Heart Profound Fire. That was a 6th grade fire seed. Tao Junki, who was also a fire cultivator, her life source fire seed was only a 6th grade fire seed. She did not even dare to touch the 7th grade fire seed. Except for Yang Chen, it was estimated that no one in the entire Langya Well dared to touch the 7th grade fire seed casually. The reason why the 2nd danger zone was a danger zone was that the 2 dragon scales still carried a little 7th grade fire seed spirit devouring dragonfire. If it weren't for Yang Chen, it was estimated that it would still be a danger zone. Even if it was Yang Chen, he also relied on the merit chapter and consumed a lot of merit to protect his body. Otherwise, he would have already died in the weak water under the Langya crystal ship. How could he have such a comfortable life now? There was another reason for the women's happiness. That was, there were many good things in the secret pavilion left by this ancient sect. It was a lot of wealth for everyone. Although their husband could already be said to be the richest in the world, no one would complain about having too many good things, right? What's more, this was the reward of this treasure hunting game. Not to mention anything else, just this process was worth everyone's happiness. Another point was that everyone had been together these days, and there seemed to be a layer of familiarity between the wives and concubines. There was a feeling of an older sister and younger sister family. They were all cultivators, so they didn't have to be jealous and fight for favor. Now that they had a chance to share the spoils together, their relationship would become more and more harmonious in the future. The secret chamber of the Antiquity sect was completely different from the secret chamber of Chunyang Palace. The items in the secret chamber of Chunyang Palace were randomly scattered throughout the area. After entering, disciples could find suitable items based on their own opportunities and choices. However, everything in this secret pavilion was concentrated in a large palace. Yang Chen's family stood 1,000 feet away from the palace. They looked at the palace that was obviously filled with many things from afar, but they couldn't take a step forward. There was no other reason. Within a radius of 1,000 feet, everything was burning with flames. Looking at the burning cyan flame and feeling the pure Yin fire aura, Yang Chen's heart finally confirmed that Li Cheng was not wrong. There was indeed a pure Yin true fire here. He didn't know how Li Cheng knew that there would be pure Yin true fire here. Perhaps there were records about this ancient sect in their family's ancient records, and they knew that their sect had pure Yin true fire. It didn't matter what the real reason was. What was important was that there was pure Yin true fire here, and it was right in front of Yang Chen. The huge palace had a radius of a mile, and the surrounding 1,000 feet was covered with pure Yin true fire. Not to mention others. Even Yang Chen could only stand obediently outside the circle of flames. not daring to take a step forward. Before the pure, true fire was taken care of, it was impossible to go around it, even if one flew into the sky. If one tried to force his way through, there would only be one outcome, and that was to be burned into a dried corpse by the pure, true fire. That's right, it would be burned into a dried corpse, not burned into charcoal. This was the effect of the pure, true fire, a level 7 ding fire. No matter how heaven-defying the merit scripture was, the amount of merit that Yang Chun could use at one time was limited. With the merit scripture, he could protect a part of his body against the spirit-devouring dragon fire, but he could not protect his whole body under this level of pure, true fire. "Husband, what should I do?" Sun Qingxue shook Yang Chen's arm, pouted, and asked pitifully. Among the wives and concubines, only Sun Qingxue and Shi Wushuang would make this kind of coquettish action in front of Yang Chun. Of course, when Sun Qingxue was there, Shi Wushuang was also very well behaved. "I'll think of a way." Yang Chun sighed. It was really a man's plan, who knew that he would encounter such a thing. Before, he was still happy about the pure, true fire, but immediately he was troubled by too many flames. "Let's work." First, he let the expectant women back a little. Yang Chun took out the profound spirit furnace and was close to the pure, true fire. At the same time, he sent a consciousness to the dragon spirit, indicating that he should absorb the pure, true fire. As the spirit of the profound spirit furnace, the dragon spirit certainly understood that the more fire seeds his body absorbed, the higher the grade, especially the advanced fire seeds, the more the better. At this moment, without Yang Chun saying anything more, he immediately began to work and carefully absorbed the pure, true fire. Don't look at the dragon spirit's predecessor as a fire dragon, a master of playing with fire, but in the face of this 7th grade, pure, true fire, it was also cautious. This was not his own true life fire. If it was not good, the spirit body would be greatly damaged. Especially this level of fire seed, if he encountered it, he would be seriously injured. Fortunately, the profound spirit furnace replaced the original body. Although it was not a dragon body, after all, some dragon scales were refined in it. It was tens of thousands of times better than his original spirit body state. There would never be a situation where the true life fire would backfire on itself. Yang Chun was next to him, nervously staring at the profound spirit furnace absorbing the pure, true fire, and was ready to help. After observing for a while, Yang Chun also began to feel relieved. The dragon spirit was the dragon spirit. Even if it was only a spirit body, the ability to control the flame was no worse than that of a person with the memory of a great principal golden immortal. How to remove so much pure, true fire was a matter to think about later. First, he would leave the fire seed and improve the profound spirit furnace. This was the main purpose of coming to Langyuel. He couldn't forget this just because he saw a hall full of things. The same was true for cultivation. The most taboo was to neglect the essentials and pursue the details. Yang Chun certainly would not make this mistake. None of the women interfered with Yang Chun at this time. They all understood Yang Chun's importance to the fire seed. Although no one knew the existence of a yin-yang heaven-burning fire, they all saw the pursuit of the fire seed that Yang Chun had always shown in their eyes. Especially for this kind of pure, true fire in front of him, he had been named to buy it in several heavyweight transactions, and the degree of importance could be imagined. Even Sun Qingxue, who liked to act coquettishly in front of Yang Chun, was also obediently guarding the back and did not say a word for fear of disturbing Yang Chun. The profound spirit furnace has been able to spontaneously absorb the fire seed. Yang Chun was relieved and began to think about how to remove such a large range of pure, true fire. Since he came here, he couldn't just look at the good things in the palace and then turn around and leave, right? Chapter 1343. Absorb it all with the profound spirit furnace? This was not realistic. The profound spirit furnace only needed to have a fire seed. It was not necessary and could not absorb it all. So, after absorbing enough fire seeds, the profound spirit furnace would be taken back. What method would be used to solve these pure, true fire? To be exact, it was not necessary to completely clear all the flames. As long as a way could be cleared, it could meet the needs of the women and enter the palace to choose things. Perhaps it was a bit too polite to say that it was a bit too polite to use a package to better express the mood of the women. But in the face of so much pure, true fire, if Yang Chun really let it go, Yang Chun would not be reconciled. This was a 7th grade flame, right in front of his own eyes, living only to collect a little fire seed to open a way and then turn around and leave. That was not Yang Chen's style. To talk about value, this fire seed was estimated to be able to top all the things in the palace added up. Yang Chen has always pursued the idea of not taking the heaven's gift. Such a large piece of pure, true fire was in front of him. This was not a gift from heaven. What was it? It was against the heaven's will. It could not be so cheap to God. The easiest way to clear away was to extinguish the fire. The problem was such a precious 7th grade flame. How much of a pity would it be to destroy it? In any case, Yang Chen would not use this method of recklessly wasting natural resources. Since the fire could not be extinguished, he had to think of a way from another aspect. Yang Chen's eyes began to focus on the ground under the flame, staring at it as if there were some beautiful flowers growing there. The pure, true fire could be burned all the time, and the support below was crucial. It could maintain the burning of the pure, true fire. Even if he used his toes to think, he knew it was a good thing. So much pure, true fire, what was it good to use it for? Yang Chun has not yet absorbed the ability to integrate the 7th grade fire seed into the Yin-Yang heaven-burning fire, even if he used the merit chapter. He couldn't use it himself, but others could consider it. Gao Yu was a fire cultivator. Her life source fire seed was the Purple Heart Fire, and the upgraded version of the 6th grade Purple Heart Profound Fire had already been obtained. Even a higher level Purple Heart Heavenly Fire, Yang Chun was also sure to get it. She did not need to change her life source fire seed. However, Tao Junqi and Murong Yin, who were also fire elementalists, could be considered. Although Tao Junqi was born in Taishaman and was also a talented genius disciple, her life source fire seed was not as advanced as a 7th grade fire seed. It was only a 6th grade fire seed. Before ascending, there was still a lot of room and opportunities for improvement. In terms of cultivation base, Yang Chun and Gao Yu are both in the Yuanying stage. For the time being, Yang Chun can only control the 6th grade fire seed, and Gao Yu has to wait for the Deshang stage tribulation to absorb the Purple Heart Profound Fire with the power of Yin Fire Tribulation. As for the 7th grade fire seed, Gao Yu also had to reach the peak Deshang stage. Murong Yan's cultivation was also slightly low and was not enough to control a 7th grade fire seed. Only Tao Junqi was now at the peak of the Great Ascension stage and had the conditions to absorb a 7th grade fire seed. Of course, for a fire cultivator, the peak Deshang stage, this was only meeting the conditions. If Tao Junqi was allowed to absorb the 7th grade pure true fire by herself, there was more than an 80% chance that she would fail, and there was a 90% chance that she would die. There was Yang Chun, of course. He would not allow such a thing to happen. Tao Junqi was also his own woman. If there were benefits, Yang Chun would not forget his own people. What's more, if she absorbed the 7th grade fire seed, Tao Junqi's chances of ascending would be much greater, and the speed would be faster. It was likely that she would be able to ascend before leaving the Languel. Tao Junqi had been in retreat for a few years, and Yang Chun did not wait too long for Tao Junqi to come out. During the waiting time, everyone was not idle. All of them were under the influence of the 9 nether flying swords demonic chi, and they were cultivating in this secret pavilion. Waking up from the retreat, Tao Junqi was directly shocked by the 7th grade fire seed in front of her, and then she was even more shocked by the 5 revolutions questioning inner heart pill, plus the process of the profound spirit furnace tribulation that the other women showed off to her. She couldn't believe it. Yang Chun helped her to absorb the 7th grade fire seed. Tao Junqi did not say anything. Even if she knew that her absorption was highly likely to fail, she did not flinch. These short years of getting along has made her thoroughly understand that her own husband, her own man, was a monster who specialized in making the impossible possible. Tao Junki's cultivation base was high, and this retreat completely consolidated the realm of the peak Deshang stage. Under the intimate guidance of Yang Chun, Tao Junki did not hesitate to begin the process of absorbing the 7th grade pure Yin True Fire. The reason why it was said to be intimate was that in the process of absorption, Tao Junki had been held in the arms of Yang Chun and pointed at close range. The main role of Yang Chun, in addition to pointing out the experience of Tao Junki's fire control, was to be ready to use the merit method to protect Tao Junki at any time. This was his own woman. Yang Chun would never be stingy with merits on her. This kind of fragrant and incomparable process of absorbing the fire seed, Tao Junki had never thought about it. But even if she was in the realm of the peak Deshang stage, she could feel the warmth of being cared for so clearly, and her heart could not help but be happy. Happiness would make one's mind clear, and understanding one's mind would make one's work efficient and confident. And with confidence, the chances of success would be high. The kind of feeling that even if one step in front of her was a bottomless abyss, but in her heart, she always firmly believed that when she fell to 9,999 feet, her husband would definitely hold her back, so that Tao Junki had no worries. She fully absorbed the pure Yin True Fire according to the method of Yang Chen's guidance. In the eyes of the other women, China, Tao Junki only used Yang Chen's 3 critical moments to save her life, and successfully transformed her life source True Fire into the 7th grade pure Yin True Fire. This change alone allowed Tao Junki's cultivation base to directly improve by at least 30%, and the level of the peak Deshang stage directly rushed to the peak. Just after consolidating her cultivation base, she had already touched the edge of the heavenly tribulation. After discovering this, Tao Junki didn't care that she was the oldest of the women. She hugged Yang Chun and showed a rare expression of a woman's coquettish joy, which made the other women stunned. The older sister actually had such a woman's side. Finally, there was another worry. Yang Chun could finally concentrate on considering the use of these pure Yin True Fire. The power of the pure Yin True Fire was so great that it could not be used to refine a few offensive magic weapons. Ordinary people could refine a few first with Divine Thunder and 10th Water Divine Thunder, and they could be regarded as a fatal magic weapon at a critical moment. If these pure Yin True Fire were refined into 4th Fire Divine Thunder, when exploded, there would also be pure Yin True Fire to attack. It would definitely be a must-have weapon for home travel and murder. He believed that in the future, when those guys who didn't have eyes bullied the people around Yang Chun, they were suddenly bombarded by the 4th Fire Divine Thunder and burned by the pure Yin True Fire, their expressions would be very good. Chapter 1344. With a direction, he was not in a hurry to start. He could not get out of the Languel in a short time. He still needed to plan his future cultivation plan. Since everyone was here, of course, he had to discuss it with his own wives and concubines. The main purpose of Yang Chen's entry into the Languel was for the pure Yin True Fire. Now that the pure Yin True Fire was in his hand, it had been properly collected in the profound spirit furnace. Not only that, the spirit-devouring dragon fire was an extra harvest, an unexpected surprise. Even his most powerful concubine, Tao Junki, also turned her own life source fire into the pure Yin True Fire. It could be said that this trip to the Languel had already made several times the profit. It was full of money, and there would never be a loss. The fundamental purpose has been achieved, and there was a big profit. No matter what he did next, he didn't have to be so timid. Any little profit from the breakthrough was pure profit, and he could rest assured to cultivate here. There was another purpose in entering the Languel, which was to temporarily avoid the internal fermentation process of the Teichman during this period of time and wait for the big pit he dug to erupt. At this time, his family was in the Languel. Even if others wanted to suspect and deal with his own family, they would have no reason to do so. Of course, Yang Chen certainly couldn't tell his wives and concubines about the latter purpose. He could only say that he wanted to use the Languel to cultivate and strive to promote the cultivation base of himself and his 4 wives to the Deshang stage. This was not a joke. For ordinary people, they might think that this was an extravagant hope. How could the Dashang stage be achieved if they wanted to? But there was no problem at all for the 4 wives of Yangchun. No matter which one was taken out, they were rare cultivation geniuses. It was only a matter of course for them to enter the Dashang stage. Gong Sunling was about to enter the peak Yuanying stage. At most, in a few decades, she would be able to cross the tribulation to the Dashang stage. The others were also in the late Yuanying stage. The worst of them was Yang Chun, who was still in the middle Yuanying stage. In the eyes of others, his cultivation base was worse than his own woman. If it wasn't for the foundation in alchemy, he was purely a model of a woman. We don't have to do anything else. Ayu, Ling, Shanshan, and Little Shui will do their best to improve their cultivation. We don't have anything else, but we have enough 5 revolutions questioning inner heart pills. Yang Chun told her his plan. Of course, he used a negotiating tone. Junkie will be responsible for getting rid of the pure, true fire. Anyway, your natal fire seed is the pure, true fire, so you don't have to be afraid of harm. Wu Shuang and Murong, you two are responsible for taking turns to go out and gain experience. Anyway, there will always be people who want to take advantage of our family. Let them be your whetstones. Those fellows outside who couldn't enter the danger zone would definitely not give up. When everyone came in, they noticed that those people were secretly watching them. At that time, Yang Chen was focused on searching for the pure, true fire and was too lazy to care about them. Now Yang Chun obviously let Shi Wu Shuang and the Murong sisters find those people to gain experience. They had long been holding back their anger, so naturally they would not refuse. You don't have to kill too much. There are still decades and hundreds of years. If there is no opponent, it'll not be fun. Yang Chen saw that Shi Wu Shuang and the Murong sisters were ready to go out and have fun, and he couldn't help but remind them. The women were all smart people. They immediately understood the meaning of Yang Chun and nodded. No one said much and went out of the danger zone in high spirits. Gong Sunling had already told everyone a way to get in and out. As long as the battle outside had not been broken, others would not have a chance to come in. Well, there is no one here to disturb you. You can cultivate as much as you want. I and Junkie will find a way to get rid of these pure, true fire. Watching the 6 women out of the danger zone, Yang Chun silently mourned for the guys who didn't have eyes outside. Then he turned back to his wives and concubines in front of him and said with a smile, "Husband, can you refine some high-grade inner-sensing pills?" The 4 wives haven't spoken yet, but Tao Junkie, the beautiful concubine over there, opened her mouth first. In fact, Tao Junkie's question was purely superfluous. Yang Chun could even refine the questioning inner heart pill at the 5th grade. The inner sensing pill was really not enough. If Yang Chun was willing, it was not difficult to rush to the 6th grade refining with the help of the profound spirit furnace. He just didn't want to be so shocking. Of course, Yang Chun was a little stunned and immediately understood Tao Junkie's meaning. The 2nd grade inner sensing pill was of great benefit to the peak Jidan stage's breakthrough to the Yuanying stage, but it had no effect on the masters of the Dashang stage. However, if the 2nd grade inner sensing pill was useless, the 5th grade inner sensing pill would be completely different. However, while thinking about Tao Junkie's intention, Yang Chen couldn't help but worry about another problem. The 2nd grade inner sensing pill was enough to expand the human body senses by dozens of times and hundreds of times. What kind of terrifying effect would the 5th grade inner sensing pill have? Not to mention the interference of the outside world, just the sound of heartbeat and breathing was enough to make people suffer unspeakable harm. He was afraid that even the friction between the clothes and the skin could become a terrifying torture. Such a medicinal pill, even if he could refine it himself, could he be willing to use it on his beautiful concubine? When he told this concern to Tao Junkie, what Yang Chun didn't expect was that Tao Junkie just smiled slightly and said, "Husband, I know that you are worried about the body of this concubine, but this concubine knows that because of the deviation of the previous cultivation, there must still be some hidden injuries in the body. Now, if you don't take the opportunity to solve it, it will be a big trouble when you cross the tribulation and ascend." Before, Tao Junkie did have a wrong direction of cultivation for a period of time, which led to a slow breakthrough. Later, under the guidance of Senior Lu Fengzi, she found the right direction again. The hidden injuries were not just words. There was a great possibility that they were real. And the only thing that could understand the hidden injuries in the body seemed to be the inner sensing pill at present. So, let's try the 3rd grade inner sensing pill first. If it doesn't work, then the 4th grade. Yang Chun didn't want to see the people around him in danger, even if it was the medicinal pill that he personally refined. It was also because of his own refining that Yang Chun knew more than anyone else that it was powerful, so he came up with such a step-by-step method. If there was really no effect at that time, he was afraid that he could only try the 5th grade inner sensing pill. When Tao Junqi and Yang Chun said this, even Gao Yu and the others were interested. They had tried the 2nd grade inner sensing pill. Although they did not use the effect of the inner sensing pill when they ascended from the Jiedan to the Yuanying stage, this did not prevent them from sensing their own blood after forming their Yuanying stage. Now that Yang Chun wanted to refine a higher grade inner sensing pill, they had to try it. This time, the inner sensing pill was something that Yang Chun didn't want to refine. His wives and concubines all wanted it. Yang Chun didn't say anything and immediately opened the furnace. Chapter 1345. With Yang Chen's current level of alchemy, coupled with the strength of the profound spirit furnace, refining a furnace of 3-grade inner sensing pills was just a matter of grasping it. In the past, it took 2 years to refine a furnace of 2nd-grade inner sensing pills, but now it was only half a year, and it was still the 3rd grade. However, Yang Chun did not stop at the 3rd grade, but collected a part of the 3rd-grade inner sensing pills, and then continued to refine the 4th grade. After collecting a part of the 4th grade inner sensing pills, the last remaining part was used for the 5th grade refining. During the refining process, the inner sensing pills that came out of the furnace had 3, 4, and 5 grades. It was enough for a few people in his own family to use. When all the medicinal pills were refined, it would take almost 2 years. However, the inner sensing pills have been upgraded from the 2nd grade to the 5th grade, a full upgrade of 3 grades. Looking at the medicinal pills in front of him, Yang Chun suddenly had a hunch that these medicinal pills were not estimated to be so easy to enjoy. The 2nd grade inner sensing pill could improve people's senses. What was the concept of the 3rd grade? Not to mention the 5th grade. Even if this medicinal pill had been taken out, he couldn't let Tao Junqi eat it first. After thinking about it, Yang Chun could only grit his teeth. He picked up a 3rd grade inner sensing pill and put it in his mouth. At the same time, he arranged a restriction around him, isolating all the sounds. Boom! With the heat flow from Yang Chen's mouth straight into his internal organs, everything he saw in front of him suddenly became extremely dazzling. Yang Chun understood that this was the first improvement of his vision, and then he heard the terrifying sound of thunder. The rhythmic heartbeat was even more unbearable than the sound of thunder. The loud rumbling in his ears had completely suppressed the sound of blood flowing through his veins, which was already very uncomfortable. His mind felt like it was about to explode. As Yang Chun expected at the beginning, the friction between his clothes and his skin seemed to have become a torture. Even in the blood vessels, it seemed that what flowed was not blood but a small knife. His body from the inside to the outside had a feeling of being cut by thousands of knives. The sudden pain caused Yang Chen's muscles to tighten, and then a new series of pain followed. The senses that had been magnified by a few hundred times was not something an ordinary person could withstand. Even someone as powerful as Yang Chun couldn't help but groan in pain. The all-encompassing pain almost caused Yang Chun to faint. How could he have the time to check the circulation of his qi and blood? Being able to guard his mind was already the limit of Yang Chen's ability to endure pain. He didn't even need to think about paying attention to anything else. Yang Chun was not a person who was willing to wallow in pain and not think of any solutions. At this time, his powerful divine sense was useless, and his superior spiritual power was useless. It seemed that he could only resist it head-on. However, the violent trembling of his muscles gave Yang Chun a flash of inspiration amidst the intense pain. A thought flashed through his mind, and the pain in his body suddenly disappeared. After a while, the medicinal effect of the 3 grades inner sensing pill had passed, and it would no longer affect Yang Chun. His normal senses were restored, and naturally, there was no pain. All the women were around, watching Yang Chun do all this. The painful look on his face was not hidden from the women. When Yang Chun calmed down, everyone immediately surrounded him and asked with concern. The medicinal effect of the 3 grades inner sensing pill is too strong. You can't afford it. Yang Chun sighed slightly and said to the women, I will find a way to reduce the medicinal effect. Listening to Yang Chun's words, Gao Yugong Sunling and Sun Qingxue didn't say anything, but Shi Shanshan and Tao Junkie's eyes were full of unwillingness to admit defeat. Both women were very stubborn women. Even if they became Yang Chen's wives and concubines, Yang Chen's words still made the 2 women very unconvinced. Husband, I want to try it. Husband, I also want to. The 2 women said this request one after another, so that Yang Chun didn't know what to do. If he gave it to them, knowing that it was that kind of pain, Yang Chun would also be distressed. If he didn't give it to them, the 2 women were so stubborn. Sister Shanshan, don't make it difficult for your husband. Sun Qingxue was also a very perceptive person. Seeing that Yang Chun was a little hesitant, she immediately grabbed Shi Shanshan's sleeves and began to act coquettishly. Gao Yu also shook her head slightly at Tao Junkie, indicating that she should not embarrass her husband. Yang Chun was not a stingy person, especially for his own women. No matter how precious things were, he would treat them as if they were nothing. Not to mention a mere 3 grades inner sensing pill. Even if it was a 5 grades questioning inner heart pill, he would give it without hesitation. He did this. Obviously, the medicinal effect of the 3 grades inner sensing pill was indeed very unusual. Looking at the performance of several women, Yang Chun couldn't help but smile bitterly. He was just being kind, but it was a bit misunderstood by Shi Shanshan and Tao Junkie. In his previous life, the 2 women were the kind of high and mighty characters, but because he had been with them for too long in this life, he had forgotten their future glory. After understanding this, Yang Chun no longer hesitated. Each person gave a 3 grades inner sensing pill, but he still couldn't help but warn the 2 women to be careful. And at the same time, he didn't forget to encourage the 2 women. Like Yang Chun, the 2 women quickly arranged a restriction around them and calmly took the medicinal pill in their hands. Yang Chun was carefully watching the 2 women, planning to intervene as soon as something was wrong. However, he immediately realized that he was making a fuss. The medicinal effect of the inner sensing pill was only a dozen breaths of time. He didn't need to do anything at all. The medicinal effect would pass. As soon as the 3 grades inner sensing pill was taken, the faces of Shi Shanshan and Tao Junkie immediately showed a painful look. The 2 beautiful faces twisted in pain and looked very strange. In just a breath of time, the 2 women were sweating profusely. For people with their cultivation base, this was simply impossible. Cheering for the 2 women in his heart, Yang Chun silently counted the time. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 9 breaths, 10 breaths. Just counting to the 10th breath, Tao Junkie on the right side snorted, and the sound she made caused more severe pain. Her body was soft, and she completely lost consciousness. Shi Shanshan clenched her teeth and supported it, but it was only 2 breaths longer than Tao Junkie, and she could no longer support it. The pain directly exceeded the limit of endurance, and she also lost consciousness. This was the self-protection mechanism of the human body. Yang Chun waited silently for a dozen breaths, and after confirming that the medicinal effect had completely passed, he broke the restriction and woke up the 2 women. At the same time, he did not forget to fill the mouths of the 2 women with a big mouthful of ginseng liquid that was more than 2,000 years old. Except for Yang Chun, no one expected such a result. Gao Yugong Sunling and Sun Qingxue only thought that Shi Shanshan and Tao Junkie would not be able to bear it and would not take another one, but they did not expect that they would directly faint. The medicinal effect of this 3 grades inner sensing pill was simply fatal. Chapter 1346. Shi Shanshan and Tao Junkie were not in a coma for a long time, and soon they woke up and then immediately remembered the previous things. They swallowed the ginseng liquid in their mouths, knowing that this was given to them by their husband to nourish their bodies. At the same time, their hearts were filled with tenderness, but they were also a little surprised by their respective stubbornness. Especially when Shan found herself lying in her husband's arms, she was even more impatient. Her previous stubbornness was as ridiculous as a farce at the moment. How could this be? Husband. As the big sister, it was naturally the most appropriate for her to come forward at this time, and it could also alleviate the embarrassment of the two women. The medicinal effect is too strong. It is stronger than being cut by 1,000 knives. Yang Chun shook his head slightly, but immediately went on to say, however, although it is not very helpful for understanding the qi and blood for the time being, it is a supreme product for tempering the will. Shan and Junkie, you are really amazing. Husband thought that you couldn't bear it and waited for you to ask for help. As a result, you held on and fainted without crying out in pain. You really deserve to be my Yang Chen's women. Yang Chen's words made the eyes of Shan and Tao Junkie light up. Among the people, only Yang Chun and the two of them had tasted the taste of the 3 grades inner sensing pill and naturally understood it more deeply than others. With Yang Chen's statement, their previous stubbornness did not seem so embarrassing, and it turned into courage. However, to be honest, Yang Chen's words were very reasonable. That degree of pain, if they could really bear it, it was indeed a great tempering of the will. This thing has nothing to do with the cultivation base and spiritual awareness. It only depends on the strength of their heart. After this experience, it seemed that they felt that their spirit was a little sublimated. Of course, the two women now really admired Yang Chun. That degree of pain, Yang Chun actually just showed a painful expression on his face from beginning to end. That was not what people could bear, and their husband was able to bear it. When it came to tempering the will, all the women began to be interested. Although Yang Chen's 9 nether flying sword could temper one's state of mind, it was a different kind of tempering. It was different from the current one. This one was completely training his endurance and ability to endure pain. If he could persevere under this kind of pain and keep his mind focused, he believed that even if he suffered a great injury in combat, he wouldn't immediately panic and fail. Speaking of which, it was another way to save his life. As a result, the high-grade inner sensing pills that Yang Chun intended to seal up were now taken by the women to hone themselves. Yang Chun didn't stop her. It wasn't that he didn't care about his woman, but sometimes it was better to suffer in such a controlled situation than to endure it in actual combat without training. Of course, Yang Chun had his own plans. In the process of enduring the 3-grade inner sensing pill, Yang Chun suddenly discovered that it seemed that as long as his body was strong enough, he could endure more of this pain. In turn, this degree of pain was more conducive to tempering his own body. Yang Chun has now cultivated the yellow turban strongman body refining technique to the early stage of overturning the C strength. Basically, Yang Chun has felt that it is impossible to go further in the mortal world. The effect of the 3-grade inner sensing pill made him think of another way, using the pain caused by the inner sensing pill to temper the yellow turban strongman body refining technique. The strength of the muscles, the strength of the bones, the strength of the fascia, plus the strength of the will, or the ability of the nervous system to withstand pain. In the previous cultivation, the external muscles, bones, and fascia were strong enough, but the internal nervous system was still relatively weak. The 3-grade inner sensing pill seemed to be able to make up for this shortcoming. According to the normal cultivation, the yellow turban strongman body refining technique could only be started when the cultivator reached the immortal world. Because the body has been transformed by the heavenly tribulation, it was incomparably powerful. Of course, the effect of the transformation of the body refining technique would be thousands of times more difficult. Even if it reached the realm of overturning the C strength, it would take at least 1,000 years or even longer to reach the point where the internal nervous system would be tempered, and then a little bit from the outside to the inside would slowly become stronger. However, the 3 grades of inner sensing pill completely omitted this step and directly acted on the nerves, enhancing their own senses by thousands of times, artificially creating this ubiquitous severe pain. Was there a more suitable way to quench it? Thinking of Yang Shan doing it, he immediately put a 3-grade inner sensing pill in his mouth, arranged the restriction, and launched the yellow, turban strongman body refining technique. After swallowing the medicinal pill, the body began to fall into pain again. The incomparably powerful physical body became more and more obvious, madly resisting this boundless pain from the inside. As soon as the body refining technique was launched, Yang Chen noticed that the ability to withstand pain had greatly improved. Although it was still extremely painful, it was not to the point of being unable to support it. It seemed that the 3-grade inner sensing pill was not very effective. Next, after Yang Chen supported the efficacy of a 3-grade inner sensing pill, he immediately replaced it with a 4-grade inner sensing pill. The efficacy of the 4-grade inner sensing pill was 10 times stronger. If he was not cultivating the yellow, turban strongman body refining technique, it would definitely make Yang Chen want to die, like Shi Shanshan and Tao Junkie. The 4-grade inner sensing pill, Yang Chen only took a while to get used to it. After eating all the 4-grade inner sensing pills that were refined, Yang Chen began to swallow the 5-grade inner sensing pill. The 5-grade inner sensing pill finally made Yang Chen have the feeling of reaching the limit. After relying on the yellow turban strongman body refining technique, Yang Chen felt that the efficacy of this inner sensing pill was too short. He had just experienced it, and it had already passed. If he wanted to continue his cultivation, taking it would be interrupted, and if he only used one, he always felt a little unsatisfied. For the first time, Yang Chen moved the idea of modifying the pill recipe, and then this idea appeared out of control and became more and more intense. However, there were 2 main directions that the inner sensing pill wanted to modify. One was to maintain the original role, to explore the flow of blood in the body. The reason why the 3-grade inner sensing pill couldn't explore the flow of blood was because it was too painful after the senses were magnified, and it was impossible to concentrate on the flow of blood. In fact, apart from exploring the blood, any other feeling, including visual and auditory pain, was just a side effect, and it was meaningless at all. If these side effects could be shielded, then the inner sensing pill would still have a lot of auxiliary effect on the cultivation. Speaking of it, the inner sensing pill was obtained from the monster race, and the medicinal pills of the monster race were still rough. Of course, if these side effects were shielded, the time could be longer, naturally it would be better, and that would be a really good medicinal pill. Chapter 1347. This direction was to display the original effect of the inner sensing pill and remove the side effects. The other direction was to maintain the side effects, but the time was long to meet the needs of long-term cultivation. Speaking of it, the first modification should not be too difficult. There are many ways to shield the external feeling. Some medicinal materials with anesthetic effects could be added. Of course, what to add and how much to use still needed further evidence and experiments from Yang Chen. On the contrary, it would be difficult to extend the time. Yang Chen was planning to carefully analyze which medicinal materials in the inner sensing pill were used to control the time of the medicinal effect. Suddenly, he found that the surrounding situation was different. He looked up and saw that all his wives and concubines were around him. Several pairs of beautiful eyes were staring at him without blinking, and there was a burst of strange light in their eyes. Yang Chen subconsciously thought that there was something wrong with his body. After looking down for a while, he found that there was nothing. Looking up at his own women, he was puzzled. "Husband, did you just take the 5th-grade inner sensing pill?" Sun Qingshua's question interrupted Yang Chen's speculation. The little girl's eyes were full of admiration, and she stared at Yang Chen as if she was staring at a great hero. There was nothing to hide from his wife. Yang Chen nodded and admitted Sun Qingshua's guess. He nodded, and all the women around him let out an inconceivable awe. In the process of Yang Chen's continuous swallowing of medicinal pills, the women had already experienced the power of the 3rd-grade inner sensing pill. Without exception, all of them fainted. Even Shi Shanshan and Tao Junkie, who swallowed it for the 2nd time, were no exception. This time, because Yang Chun was addicted to cultivation, he didn't take care of them. All the women slowly woke up after the effect of the medicine had passed for a long time. Recalling the pain he had just experienced, it was as if he had gone to hell. Then they immediately discovered that Yang Chun was eating the inner sensing pill one after another. From the dragon-shaped pill pattern on it, Yang Chun was eating the 4th grade inner sensing pill. After a while, the medicinal pill became the 5th grade inner sensing pill. The women who discovered this scene were almost stunned. The 3-grade inner sensing pills were already unbearable for them. They couldn't even hold on for more than 10 breaths. They all fainted, but their husband didn't feel it. He ate so much, and it was still a higher grade inner sensing pill. The pain was 10 times more than 100 times. Was his body made of iron? Gao Yu, Gong Sunling, and the others have already seen Yang Chen's power, but Tao Junqi and the others have not fully experienced it yet. After this, the girls once again got to know their own husband. It seemed that this husband of hers was not just a simple 5th-grade alchemist. The impression that Yang Chun gave his concubines had always been that he was knowledgeable, outstanding in alchemy, and calm in the face of trouble. But now, he had to add that he could endure what ordinary people couldn't. It was just that they hadn't had the chance to see Yang Chen's true battle prowess, so they didn't know what Yang Chen's combat prowess was like. However, since he could retreat from the demon continent, he would not be worse than Gao Yu and the others. When the women calmed down, Yang Chun told the women about his idea of changing the pill recipe of the inner sensing pill. For this, the women were naturally in favor of it and strongly supported it. Tao Junqi took care of the task of cleaning up the pure, true fire. In fact, up until now, she had already successfully opened up a path that was half a foot wide. In a few more years, even if the pure, true fire could not completely clear the place, everyone would still be able to use this path to enter the main hall. After referring to a lot of pharmacological common sense, Yang Chen also absorbed a lot of experience from the elderly Lord Pill scripture, Yundan scripture, and the refining experience of those predecessors, and began to modify the pill recipe of the inner sensing pill. On the basis of the original pill recipe, Yang Chun added 1,000-year-old datura and several kinds of neutralizing auxiliary herbs. After several experiments, the timing and heat of adding were determined. Soon, in less than 2 months, a modified 2nd-grade inner sensing pill was easily produced. Of course, it was Yang Chun himself who tested the efficacy of the medicinal pill. He would not let his women suffer. After taking this brand-new inner sensing pill, Yang Chun slowly realized the changes in the efficacy. As Yang Chun expected, after adding the datura with anesthetic ingredients, the external senses and pain were greatly reduced, but the original effect of exploring the blood and qi was not lost, and Yang Chun could still feel it clearly. It could be said that this experiment had basically been successful. If there was a flaw, it was that the dose of datura was still a little small, and there was still a little abnormal feeling. Yang Chen's ideal effect was to be able to maintain the normal senses, not to be completely anesthetized, and not to have more than ordinary pain. That was perfect. Of course, an ideal was an ideal. In reality, there could be no perfect medicinal pill. At the same time, everyone's tolerance was also different. Some people only need a little datura to be anesthetized, but some people need a large dose, and so on. It was impossible to perfectly satisfy everyone. After slightly adjusting the dosage and adding almost 5 points of datura, Yang Chun began the official refining. This time, Yang Chun went directly to the 3rd grade and 4th grade refining. For his own wives and concubines, the 3rd and 4th grade refining was already fully able to meet their requirements, and the 5th grade refining was not necessary at all. The 5th grade inner sensing pill, even if they found that there was something wrong with the circulation of blood and qi with their current realm, it was impossible to adjust it. It required at least the cultivation base of the human immortal 5th grade to reach the level of refinement. In a blink of an eye, another year passed, and Yang Chun finally completed the refining of the 4th grade inner sensing pill. This kind of brand new inner sensing pill with anesthetic ingredients, Yang Chun gave it a new name, qi and blood pill. The main function was to explore the circulation of blood and qi in the body. His wives and concubines were all there, even the Murong sisters and Shi Wushuang, who should have taken turns to practice outside, were all there. The time was just right. After Yang Chun took out the qi and blood pill and distributed it to the women, the third-grade qi and blood pill was immediately taken by the anxious women. Their own husband had personally tested the medicinal pill, and no one was worried. Everyone wanted to know how effective their husband's improved pills were. Without the enhancement of the external senses, without the stimulation of pain, and wholeheartedly paying attention to the situation of the circulation of blood and qi, the women could finally thoroughly understand the situation of the circulation of blood and qi in their bodies. Soon, Sun Qingxue, who had the highest cultivation base among the 4 wives, had changed. After discovering some small flaws in the circulation of blood and qi in her body, Gong Sunling corrected these flaws with the fastest speed. The effect was immediate, and Gong Sunling's cultivation base had a small improvement in an instant.